The story begins with a man, severely injured, sitting on the ground, staring at his friend, Luo Wei. With a voice filled with pain and disbelief, he asks, "Weren't we brothers who fought through life and death together? Then why would you do this to me?" Luo Wei remains calm, his expression unreadable. "Do you remember when the calamity first began?" he says coldly. "When monsters emerged from strange spatial rifts, tearing the world apart. Those rifts were later called dungeons, and those who came into contact with them gained mysterious powers, which became known as classes. That was why we formed the class unit, to conquer the dungeons and push forward in glorious victory." His eyes narrow. "But that is exactly why I must eliminate you. You have become uncontrollable. Powerful class users like you can disrupt the Empire's order. And you, having surpassed even the SSS rank, are the most dangerous of all. The strongest power must remain in the hands of the royal family. Only then can the Empire remain stable." Enraged, the injured man shouts back, "So that's your excuse? Is that why you destroyed my family?" Without hesitation, Luo Wei delivers a swift strike, felling the protagonist completely. As he steps forward, he reveals the truth. "I tampered with your armor long ago. The explosion earlier also injected a compound poison into your wounds. After an SSS rank battle, you shouldn't have any strength left to resist. I've even prepared an entire army to ensure this ends here. Consider this my final show of respect for you." The protagonist's vision blurs, his mind drifting into a memory, one of him and Luo Wei laughing together on their many adventures. In that moment, a glowing window appears before his eyes. Hidden skill. Mirror World has met activation conditions. Mirror World is an SSS rank hidden ability, an ultimate skill capable of reversing everything. The scene shifts to decades later. A group of boys are bullying someone named Yun Che near a pond. One of them punches him hard, then dunks his head underwater. Gasping for breath, Yun Che mutters in frustration, "Why does it always have to be me?" Somewhere in the depths of his mind, the faint voice of the protagonist stirs, wondering, what is that sound? A boy named Xiao Ji rushes over, yelling, "Stop it already. You'll kill him." The bully sneers. "If he's going to die, then let him heal himself. After all, isn't Yun Che a chanter?" He then turned toward Xiao Ji. "You're such a hypocrite. You're the one who led us to him in the first place. If he dies, it's your fault." Xiao Ji stammers that he only did it because they threatened him, but the bully, now angrier, steps forward as if to punch him too. Before the blow lands, a strange light bursts from the pond. The bullies freeze, their faces pale. "No way. Is that a new dungeon?" one whispers. Panic erupts, and they scatter in every direction. Xiao Ji, however, doesn't run. He's worried about Yun Che, who is still bound and submerged. Without thinking, he dives toward him, trying to untie the ropes. But before he can free him, grotesque goblins emerge from the newly formed dungeon surrounding the area. A goblin raises its weapon to strike, only for Yun Che to suddenly rise from the water, pulling Xiao Ji to safety. Yun Che casts Glacial Impact, but to Xiao Ji's horror, the spell heals the goblin instead of harming it. "What are you doing?" Xiao Ji shouts. "Why would you heal the enemy?" The goblin lunges again, and Xiao Ji quickly summons a shield spell, blocking the attack. A glowing system window appears in front of Yun Che, showing his stats. He realizes with a shock, this is not his original body. He is inside the body of someone named Yun Che, and the magic he just used was healing magic. Normally, when someone comes into contact with a dungeon, they bind with the system and are granted a random starting class that cannot be changed. From there, they grow stronger by clearing dungeons, gaining abilities tied to that class. But the protagonist, once a warrior who had reached the absolute pinnacle, was different. Back then, he had used the Mirror World skill, a power that reverses everything. That choice had trapped him within the mirrored realm for decades, until he heard Yun Che's cries. That meant he had been revived inside Yun Che's body. It was not exactly a pleasant revelation, but it was still a second chance. And for that, he silently thanked Yun Che for unknowingly giving him the opportunity to exact his revenge. Meanwhile, Xiao Ji calls out urgently, "Yun Che, the monsters are swarming us. I can handle 3 at most. You need to do something." On the other hand, Yun Che thinks to himself, "This body is far too weak. Even these low-level monsters are beyond me." At that moment, a glowing system window appears, displaying a list of the skills available to him. The protagonist scans through them, and quickly realizes that most are utterly useless. A chanter? He thinks with a frown. The class is far too niche. Its strengths lie entirely in support roles, and even there, it's outclassed by other classes. No wonder it's always been looked down upon. With the protagonist's old combat instincts still intact, Yun-Che manages to hold out for a short while, but he knows he needs a solution fast. If he runs out of mana, it will be over. That's when he decides to attempt using Mirror World, the hidden skill, his only real hope. Dodging a monster's strike, Yun-Che steps forward, thinking, how exactly does this skill work? He tries activating it directly on the monster, but a notification flashes. Activation failed. Conditions not met. What conditions? He mutters internally. Is my level too low? Or does it require an actual mirror? He tries again, this time targeting the monster's reflection in a pool of water. Another notification appears. Skill failed due to insufficient level. Realization strikes him. Mirror World requires a reflective surface to activate. That explains part of it, but the level restriction is still a problem. Perhaps he can try a different target. He focuses on the monster's sword, but once again, insufficient level. Meanwhile, Xiaoji shouts, "Stop wasting time with your useless skills. I can't hold out much longer." Before Yun-Che can respond, a towering figure emerges from the dungeon. A level 10 overlord, Wraith Demon, with HP 1,680 and MP 100. Xiaoji's face pales. We're doomed. An elite like that requires at least level 10 to defeat. Suddenly, an army of demons pours out behind it, surrounding them. Xiaoji is in shock, but Yun-Che, desperate, tries Mirror World on a small pebble. Still insufficient level. The army charges straight at him. Yun-Che grits his teeth. Not even a rock. Is the level gap really that huge? In a last attempt, he targets Xiaoji's makeshift barrier with the skill. This time, the window reads, cannot reverse other players' skills. Then, an idea clicks. If I can't reverse someone else's skill, can I reverse my own? He quickly activates one of his own abilities, Entangling Vines. The system reacts immediately. Skill reversed, Chaotic Thorns unlocked. The transformation is instantaneous. Vines erupt from the ground. In a single strike, every surrounding monster is taken down, except the boss. The Overlord roars and lunges for Yun-Che, but before it can land a blow, another monstrous figure appears and smashes its fist into the boss, killing it instantly. Xiaoji stares, stunned. What just happened? Meanwhile, Yun-Che studies the system notifications. The reversal has completely altered the skill's effect. Instead of immobilizing enemies, it now inflicts confusion. Original skill, Entangling Vines, cost 10 MP. Vines entangle a single enemy, low chance to immobilize. Reversed enhancement, Chaotic Thorns, cost 10 MP. Thorns lash a target, low chance to inflict confusion. Confusion causes afflicted units to attack random targets. A status window appears, confirming confusion-afflicted units will attack random targets. A slow smile spreads across Yun-Che's face. A useless skill, turned powerful after reversal. His mind races. If this works on one ability, what will happen when I reverse the rest of my skills? Yun-Che muttered to himself. Mirror World truly lives up to its reputation as an SSS-Rank hidden skill. It didn't simply reverse skill effects. There was clearly an overall enhancement as well. If he had used the original, unreversed version of Entangling Vines, not only would the success rate have been low, but the restraint duration would have lasted barely a single second, never reaching the potency it now displayed. As he pondered this, another system window appeared, listing his available skills. One caught his attention, Empowered Strike, cost 20 MP, duration 30 seconds. Curious, Yun-Che activated Mirror World on it. A new, reversed skill formed instantly, Trick Blade, cost 40 MP, duration 60 seconds. A smirk spread across his face as he unsheathed his sword. Trick Blade. He quickly realized that with each skill usage, his attack power would increase by 10%. Just by activating any ability, he could trigger the effect. Its potential was extraordinary. Another notification flashed, level up. Yun-Che glanced around and realized that many monsters had been slain in the chaos of infighting, their deaths granting him a significant amount of experience. One of the surviving monsters lunged at him. He raised his weapon, blocking the strike with ease. Perfect timing, he thought, his smile widening. Leveling up had fully restored his MP. It was time to put Trick Blade to the test. He activated Chaotic Thorns, while also taking advantage of Trick Blade's attack boost. The result was devastating. Dozens of monsters fell in a single strike. By the time the dust settled, Trick Blade had already doubled his attack power. This skill, it breaks all conventions, Yunche thought, eyes gleaming. One of the boss monsters roared and charged at him. Yunche parried the incoming strike, spun behind the beast in an instant, and take it down with a single decisive blow. Xiao Ji, watching from a distance, stood frozen in shock. Is this really Yunche? A level 5 chanter doing that? It was almost impossible to believe that someone with such a supposedly weak class possessed this kind of strength. Meanwhile, Yunche calculated quickly. At his current level 6 stats, with 120 MP and 1 MP regeneration per second, he could theoretically reach 2.3x attack power through Trick Blade. With that, his strength might just be enough to handle even level 11 elite bosses, though only barely. The ground suddenly shook beneath his feet. From the shadows, another monster appeared, its sheer presence radiating danger. Chimera, level 21. As the low-level monsters tried to rush forward, the Chimera moved, taking those monsters down effortlessly with a single strike. Xiao Ji's face turned pale. A hidden boss? At this level? Before Yunche could answer, the Chimera lunged at him. He immediately cast Chaotic Thorns to halt its movement, but the skill failed to restrain the beast. Its massive strike hurtled toward him. At the last moment, Xiao Ji dashed in front of him, activating his barrier skill to intercept the blow. The impact was explosive, forcing Yunche to recall memories of his past life, of the comrade who had always shielded him in battle, taking the brunt of danger whenever Yunche charged headfirst into the fray. The memory vanished in an instant as reality returned. Xiao Ji's barrier shattered, and his body was sent flying into a nearby wall with. Shocked by the sight of Xiao Ji being slammed into the wall, Yunche rushed to his side without hesitation. Kneeling down, he immediately cast his healing skill in an attempt to mend Xiao Ji's injuries. However, the faint glow of the spell quickly faded, and Yunche realized with frustration that it had no effect. Worse yet, the effort had drained the last of his remaining MP. TCH. Chanter healing skills really are pathetic, he thought bitterly. Looking at Xiao Ji's pale face, Yunche asked urgently, "Do you have any health potions?" Xiao Ji coughed and replied, "Only one emergency bottle left." "Drink it," Yunche ordered firmly. As Xiao Ji fumbled for the potion, a new system window appeared before Yunche's eyes. Only 10 seconds remaining on Trick Blade. Quickly assessing the battlefield, Yunche noted that most of the remaining monsters were around levels 10 or 11, but the towering Chimera boss stood at level 21. There was no question, he was still no match for the boss in his current state. However, the weaker monsters were already on the verge of death. A plan began to form in his mind, one that might just work. Turning to Xiao Ji, he said, "Hold on for just 1 minute. I'll deal with these monsters." Xiao Ji's eyes widened in disbelief. Alone, before he could protest further, Yunche was already moving. In a flash, he dashed across the battlefield, taking down the low-level monsters with precise, decisive strikes. One after another, they fell before they could even react. A system window popped up, displaying his skill cooldowns and remaining MP. Yunche quickly calculated. He would need at least 400% attack power to have a chance against the Chimera, but Trick Blade only lasted 60 seconds. Then, another notification appeared, "Level up." Yunche's eyes lit up. "If I cast Chaotic Thorns 40 times within the next 50 seconds, I can stack my attack power high enough. But to do that, I'll need to reach level 10 first." From the sidelines, Xiao Ji could only watch in stunned silence. He's facing them all alone. Then, the Chimera roared and charged toward Yunche. At that moment, a bright glow enveloped him, level 12 achieved. His MP bar instantly refilled, and his Trick Blade effect now allowed for 510% attack power for the remaining 9 seconds. More than enough, Yunche thought with a confident smirk. He tightened his grip on his sword, and in a single explosive dash, closed the distance to the Chimera. He took down the monster with one clean strike. The boss let out a final, ear-splitting roar before collapsing. Xiao Ji's jaw dropped. You just solo cleared an entire dungeon." The moment the Chimera fell, another notification appeared. Level up ×3. Yun Che was now level 15, his stats and abilities significantly enhanced compared to before. A final window followed. Dungeon Lord defeated. Dungeon cleared. Xiaoji approached him slowly, still trying to process what had just happened. Is this really you, Yun Che? How did you suddenly become so strong? Yun Che looked at him for a long moment, memories of his past life flashing before his eyes. Memories of a comrade who had stood by him until the end. Then, without answering the question directly, he asked, "What's your relationship with Xiao Bian?" Xiaoji froze, his expression shifting to shock. How do you know my great-grandfather's nickname?" Surprised, Yun Che could hardly believe what he had just heard. Xiaoji was actually the great-grandson of Xiao Bian. For a moment, he stood there in disbelief, his thoughts swirling. Weren't all the people I knew in my past life taken down by Luo Wei? As he tried to ask more about it, Xiaoji, "There's no need to talk about my great-grandfather right now," he said evenly. "If you don't want to answer my question, you don't have to. I'm not here to humiliate you." Yun Che was caught off guard by the remark. Before he could respond, Xiaoji continued, "Although I don't know why, I'm certain you've been hiding your true strength all this time, haven't you? Either way, we should head back to school. Tomorrow, the Academy is organizing a visit to the Modern History Memorial Hall." Yun Che kept his expression neutral, though his mind was alert. "I can't reveal my identity just yet. If Xiaoji starts digging too deeply, he might grow suspicious." Out loud, he simply said, "All right, let's go." Still, inwardly, his thoughts shifted. The Modern History Memorial Hall, there will definitely be records of what happened after I died in my previous life. The scene transitioned to the following day. On the bus ride, Yun Che and Xiaoji sat quietly side by side. Yun Che's gaze wandered out the window as he silently reflected. How times have changed. After being dead for so many years, the world is nothing like I remember. People are using products from dungeons to power carriages. New tools, new weapons, and strange devices I've never seen before. Although some of them resemble artifacts I once encountered inside dungeons. A thought crossed his mind. Wait, wasn't it supposed to be that only items dropped by monsters could be brought out of a dungeon? Opening his status window, he tapped on an entry. A flash of light appeared on his finger. A ring materialized. Chimera Ring, Epic Rank, Level 14. So equipment like this, as well as skill books, can be taken out through the inventory, and they can even be bought and sold outside dungeons now. Another notification appeared. Skill acquired. Resilient physique. Passive. Permanently reduces physical damage taken. Yun Che's mind returned to the old rules he knew. Items that couldn't be stored in the inventory were supposed to vanish when the dungeon lord was defeated, disappearing along with the dungeon itself. So what on earth happened after my death for these rules to change? The scene shifted again, this time to the academy grounds. Yun Che's eyes were drawn to a towering statue in the courtyard. "That's the supreme ruler of our kingdom," Xiaoji explained. "The emperor who ended the dungeon disasters, Luo Wei." Their teacher gathered the students and addressed them. Most of you may already know this, but over 50 years ago, this very place was the battlefield of the famous rebellion. Back then, humanity was deeply afflicted by the dungeon outbreaks, especially after the most terrifying SSS-Rank dungeon appeared. People lived in constant fear. Our king at the time, Luo Wei, personally led the royal army on an expedition to clear it. Despite suffering heavy casualties, he finally conquered that dungeon. The teacher's tone grew heavier. But at that very moment, Luo Wei faced a long-planned rebellion. The mastermind, as you all know, was none other than Yun Che, the man deeply trusted by the king, yet who ultimately became an ungrateful traitor. Hearing this, Yun Che's jaw clenched. So, this is what the story has become. Back then, my comrades and I were the ones who cleared that SSS-Rank dungeon. They were the ones who were ambushed, and now history calls me the traitor. The teacher went on. You cannot imagine the grief of being betrayed under such circumstances. Yet our king, Luo Wei, overcame that sorrow and fought with unshakable courage. With the help of the hero Ding Kuan, he successfully suppressed the rebellion. Hearing the teacher's words, Yun Che couldn't help but wonder, was there really such a person named Ding Kuan? The name didn't ring any bells from his memories of the past. Before he could dwell on it further, a familiar, unwelcome voice echoed across the courtyard. Su, along with the same group of subordinates who had bullied Xiaoji and Yun Che before, swaggered into view. Well, Su drawled, his eyes narrowing. How did the two of you manage to survive? I heard you were both swept into that newly formed dungeon. One of his cronies chimed in mockingly. I also heard that the dungeon's already been cleared. That means there must have been a master-level expert nearby. A new dungeon doesn't get cleared that quickly otherwise. Yun Che's gaze turned cold as he looked over the group who had once humiliated him and Xiao Ji. Around them, murmurs spread through the crowd as most of the students' attention shifted toward the pair. Whispers filled the air, astonishment that they had survived the sudden dungeon eruption. Su stepped right up to Xiao Ji, a sneer on his face. You've got pretty good luck making it out alive. But let's not forget, you nearly dragged me and my friends into that dungeon that day. So, how do you plan to settle this debt? Xiao Ji's fists clenched. It was your fault, Su. You're the one who almost got both of us killed in there. Anger flared in Su's eyes. Stop spouting nonsense. You clearly have no idea about the bigger picture here. He jabbed a finger toward the large statue dominating the courtyard, a depiction of the hero Luo Wei. At the statue's base was a carved relief showing Xiao Ji's ancestors bowing before Luo Wei. That traitor Xiao, Su said, is your ancestor. And I won't stand here and let the descendant of a traitor insult me. His voice rose, loud enough for the entire courtyard to hear. You can insult me all you want, Xiao Ji, but I will never allow you to insult my ancestors. The crowd's attention sharpened, students whispering excitedly as they began connecting the names. They recognized Su immediately. He was the grandson of the revered hero's bloodline. And Xiao Ji, the descendant of the so-called traitor. Whispers turned to accusations. His ancestor was responsible for taking down so many people. If the hero hadn't stepped in back then, who knows what would have happened? Su pressed on. I don't care what you say behind my back, but how dare you insult my ancestor to my face? At that moment, a teacher stepped in, his expression stern. Xiao Ji, he said gravely, I will speak a few words of justice here, and my judgment is that you should apologize to Su. Xiao Ji froze, stunned. Apologize? For what? Su took a step closer, his grin smug. You heard him. Apologize now, or should I teach you a lesson in front of everyone? No one here is going to help a traitor. My ancestors were heroes. How could I possibly be in the wrong? The tension in the air grew thick as Su raised his fist, ready to strike. But before the blow could land, a blur of movement cut through the space between them. Yun Che stepped forward and, with precise force, kicked Su squarely in the chest, sending him staggering back. Xiao Ji stared, wide-eyed at the sudden intervention. Yun Che's voice was low but laced with fury. Does the so-called hero's family have so much free time that they can't even discipline their own children? All around the hall, the students stared in disbelief. They recognized Yun Che instantly, but something about him felt completely different. This was not the quiet, unremarkable classmate they knew. Yun Che had just dared to strike Su, the grandson of a national hero, and openly insult the hero's family. Some students whispered to each other, remembering that Yun Che had only been level 5, the weakest in their entire class. What happened to him? They wondered. How could someone like that dare to hit Su? Su slowly rose to his feet, smirking despite the blow. Yun Che, he said mockingly, you're in big trouble now. You should be grateful. I wasn't even coming after you. And yet you dared to attack me while I wasn't paying attention. At his signal, Su's subordinates rushed forward to strike Yun Che. But in the blink of an eye, Yun Che moved. His strikes were precise, brutal, and impossibly fast. In mere moments, every one of Su's men, and Su himself, were on the ground. The courtyard fell silent. The students were stunned. Su, the one they considered untouchable, had been defeated again, this time almost casually. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Did Su get weaker? One asked. How can a level 5 healer overpower him like that? Su's face twisted with rage as he scrambled to his feet. Without hesitation, he activated one of his combat skills, boosting his attack power by 25%. Flames flickered across his weapon as he summoned his fire-forged hammer. You're dead, he snarled, dashing forward. Yun Che met his charge head-on. His footwork was sharp, his movements confident. Before Su could swing, Yun Che closed the distance and landed a devastating punch. Su collapsed to the ground once more. The commotion drew the attention of a nearby security officer, who rushed forward. What's going on here? He demanded, his eyes widening at the sight of Su sprawled on the floor. The other students were still murmuring in disbelief. Su was beaten by a level 5 healer twice. The security guard turned to the supervising teacher. Fighting is forbidden inside the hall. What if the students damage something? Why can't you control them? The teacher's expression hardened as he strode toward Yun-Che. Insulting a hero wasn't enough for you? Now you've raised your hand against the hero's descendant. He drew his weapon, stepping into an attack stance. Yun-Che's gaze sharpened. In an instant, he was in motion. Steel clashed, and with a sharp crack, the teacher's weapon broke clean in two. Gasps filled the air. Let's not talk about who's right or wrong here, Yun-Che said coldly. You claim to be fair, teacher, but from what I've seen, you've only listened to Sue's side of the story. Are you trying to favor the hero's family? The teacher's face darkened. Stop talking nonsense. But his eyes flicked briefly to Yun-Che's hand and froze. There was a ring there, one he didn't recognize. What kind of equipment is that? Although he hadn't used his full strength, his strike had been completely blocked. Yun-Che smiled faintly. Just a casual remark, teacher. I don't think you're that kind of person. The teacher stepped back slightly, schooling his expression. I will investigate this conflict thoroughly. The students buzzed with shocked whispers. Not only had Yun-Che beaten Sue, but he had also blocked the teacher's attack. Inwardly, the teacher's thoughts churned. Where did he get that equipment? Does he have a powerful backing? A notification appeared in Yun-Che's vision. Chimera ring, damaged. He sighed inwardly. Even though it's good quality, it's still just a drop from a level 21 dungeon lord. It's far too much of a stretch to use it against a level 35 teacher. Aloud, Yun-Che said. As punishment, teacher, you should expel both Xiao Ji and me from the hall. Without waiting for a response, he turned and walked out. Come on, Xiao Ji. Still stunned, Xiao Ji followed him out, leaving the students to murmur among themselves. How did Yun-Che become so powerful? Inside the hall, the teacher called for one of the students to heal Sue. Meanwhile, walking through the academy grounds, Yun-Che's expression darkened. So no one survived after all. He glanced at Xiao Ji. If I ask him now, he'll answer without thinking. Xiao Ji, Yun-Che said, my own history isn't exactly glorious. Can you tell me the details of that so-called hero, Ding Kuan? Xiao Ji nodded. Back then, it said the hero discovered the great villain Yun-Che's conspiracy in advance. He laid an ambush near the SSS-Rank dungeon to provide support, and that's how he resolved the entire rebellion crisis. Yun-Che's fists clenched at the words. Xiao Ji went on. Hero Ding Kuan aspired to solve the dungeon crisis from a young age. He trained hard all his life for it. After being promoted by the king, he fought all over the country for years, saving countless places from disaster, like the famous Great Cataclysm of Winterfell City. Hearing that name, Yun-Che remembered the bitter cold and the hordes of monsters he himself had defeated in that very battle. He asked slowly, and the sword in the hero's statue? That's the flowing cloud sword, Xiao Ji replied. It's said to be the very weapon the hero used to take down the traitor Yun-Che. It's considered a top-tier artifact. A dangerous glint entered Yun-Che's eyes. So not only did Ding Kuan steal my glory and achievements, he even took my sword. The first person I'll kill will be Ding Kuan. The scene shifts to the gates of the Ding family compound, where several hunters stand guard. Their armor gleams under the sunlight, their postures disciplined, weapons at the ready. Suddenly, a faint disturbance catches their attention. They turn sharply, scanning the perimeter. It's only two figures. One of the guards relaxes almost immediately, muttering to the others, just a couple of kids. On the other hand, Yun-Che studies them with sharp eyes. They're far more alert than the average guard. Is that one of them a wanderer with the scout skill? As the two move forward, Xiao Ji leans closer and whispers, we should leave. There are too many guards here. Even if we could sneak in, the moment Ding Su returns, we're finished. Yun-Che doesn't reply right away, his thoughts turning over in his mind. Of course I want to confront that so-called hero Ding Kuan directly, but according to Xiao Ji, Ding Kuan spends almost all his time in a high-level dungeon. Unlike in my past life, I can't enter or leave dungeons freely anymore. The high-level ones are under strict military control, and I'd need a special pass to get in. That thought sparks another idea. If Ding Kuan's family has that pass, it might be stored here. Yun-Che glances sideways at Xiao Ji. Do they really need this many guards? They're just one branch of Ding Kuan's descendants. They're descendants of a hero. Xiao Ji replies, as if that explains everything. And they have a dungeon right here on their property. Yun-Che raises an eyebrow. They keep a dungeon at home? Xiao Ji nods. Low-level dungeons have been bought, and sold privately for a long time now. But that's not something ordinary people can even dream of. Only those with real power and influence can afford it. Ding Su has guards with him all the time, so Ding Kuan can hunt monsters and level up whenever he wants. But for students like us, the only time we can fight monsters is during the school's dungeon practicals, and even then, we have to fight for the chance. Yinche shakes his head slightly. This era really has changed. So you're telling me that the richer and more powerful someone is, the faster and higher their level climbs. Of course, Xiao Ji says matter-of-factly. An ordinary person graduating from school is usually level 15 to 20. After that, most don't have access to dungeons, so they stay at that level for life. If someone lands a job related to dungeons, like a miner or a ranger in a national dungeon, they might reach the low 30s by middle age. The guards here, for example, can use the hero's family dungeon, so they're probably around level 30 already. To go higher, you'd have to be conscripted into the army, or get into an official organization like a major guild or a military academy through the school's assessments. Only then can you enter higher-level dungeons and keep leveling up. Yunche listens silently, but his mind is already set. If I want to get stronger, that pass is essential. Xiaoji urges again. Let's just go back. The level gap is too big. No matter how skilled you are, you're no match for those guards. He's right, Yunche admits to himself. With my current strength, I'm far from ready to take down Ding Kuan, let alone the Supreme King, Luo Wei, who is surrounded by layers of protection. But then his eyes narrow. Still, scouting skills that appear around level 30 are small area skills. Eagle Eye, enhanced hearing, things like that. They can't cover the entire mansion around the clock. And this isn't a life-or-death dungeon run. The guards are complacent. That's all I need. Xiaoji frowns. Complacent? How do you figure? Yin Che doesn't answer. Instead, he leaps upward, landing silently on a balcony. Compared to the nearly flawless dungeon defenses in my past life, this is far more relaxed. But Xiaoji is not convinced. Even if you could get inside a privately owned dungeon like this, they could kill us both without consequences. Yin Che suddenly grabs Xiaoji's shoulder and locks eyes with him. Do you want to change your life? Xiaoji's voice is firm. Of course I do. But that's only possible if I get into a guild. And if you do get into a guild, Yin Che presses, can you really change things? You're the great-grandson of the so-called traitor Xiaoan. Do you think the world will just forget that? Xiaoji falls silent. A person's destiny can only be changed in the present, Yin Che continues. Not by betting on a what-if you're not even sure about. Inwardly, his resolve hardens. At the very least, I won't let a dungeon like this, right in front of me, slip through my fingers. Yin Che turned to Xiaoji. You decide for yourself, whether you want to follow me or not. Xiaoji hesitated for a moment, his brows furrowing. Then, with a deep breath, he nodded. I'll go. I don't want to let you do this alone. Then keep quiet, Yin Che instructed. Inwardly, he analyzed the situation. There are no traces of a summoning-type scouting skill in use here. That means as long as we keep our voices down and stay out of the guard's line of sight, we just need to seize the right moment. I can get us inside easily. True to his calculation, they slipped past the perimeter without incident. Xiaoji's eyes widened in disbelief. We actually made it in. Ahead of them stood a swirling portal. A dungeon entrance, Yin Che murmured. Underground layout. Its level is slightly higher than the last one we entered. They stepped inside. Yin Che glanced around, his instincts sharp. The monster count is low, he noted. Probably because the Ding family clears them out regularly. Up ahead, only 2 small mobs roamed the tunnel. Yin Che turned to Xiaoji. Go on. Give it a try. Xiaoji stared at him in shock. There's no way I can win against them. Try, Yin Che said simply. Reluctantly, Xiaoji moved forward. The monsters immediately lunged at him, their claws striking against his shield. He managed to block, barely, but staggered from the impact. I can't believe I trusted you, he hissed over his shoulder. One of the monsters swung again, the blow nearly slipping past his guard, but Xiaoji twisted his body at the last second, narrowly avoiding the strike. Fight back, Yin Che called out, his tone calm but firm. How am I supposed to fight back? Xiaoji shouted, frustration clear in his voice. I'm watching you, Yin Che reassured him. Nothing bad will happen. Steeling himself, Xiaoji lunged forward and managed to land a clean hit. But the second monster came in from behind, forcing him to dodge again. From a short distance away, Yin Che observed quietly. As I thought, his talent is good. The problem is that he's timid and panics too easily, so he only dares to defend. But his subconscious sense of spatial positioning is extremely accurate. That's why, even though it looks like he's constantly in danger, his actual health loss is minimal. Xiao Ji, however, was sweating heavily. I can't hold out much longer. In that instant, Yun Che stepped forward, his blade flashing. With a single decisive strike, both monsters fell. For a brief moment, he thought of his past, of his old comrade. So, the great-grandson of my comrade has finally taken his first step. A system chime rang in the air. Xiao Ji, level up, level 7 achieved. Yun Che explained. Experience is distributed based on contribution. If you don't throw the monsters off balance, even if I kill them, you won't gain much EXP. The system also displayed a new loot drop for Yun Che, Resentful Blade. How do you usually allocate your attribute points? Yun Che asked. Other than spirit, Xiao Ji said, I generally add them evenly. That's not ideal, Yun Che replied. Shield bearers usually don't invest in agility. If I don't, Xiao Ji countered, it's hard to find a party at school. No one wants to wait for a slow-moving shield bearer. By the time I get to the monsters, they're already gone. Yun Che sighed. You need to think long-term. Advanced class promotions after level 60 have attribute requirements. For example, the Bastion Fortress class requires 60 stamina and 90 defense. You can't just add points randomly. Xiao Ji scoffed. The highest an ordinary person reaches in their lifetime is level 40-something. Why would I think about level 60? That's S-rank territory. Yun Che stepped closer, his voice steady. From now on, you can start thinking about S-rank, and even beyond S-rank. Xiao Ji blinked, taken aback. But then his expression shifted, surprise giving way to determination. Inwardly, Yun Che's own thoughts were already shifting. That being said, I should also start planning my own class advancement. My support class only became viable again because of the hidden skill Mirror World. If nothing unexpected happens, I'll probably change too. A chime interrupted his thoughts. System notification, Mirror World, level 1. Defeated monster. Gained 2,000 experience points. Yun Che's eyes widened slightly. So, Mirror World can level up as well. Yun Che strikes the zombies with his blade, then takes down another zombie as well. The system notifies him that the Trick Blade's ATK has increased up to 70% duration. The defeated zombie still attacks Yun Che, making him wonder if it is still alive as he dodges. It is the level 17 zombie Greed Demon. Yun Che strikes it again, but his ATK boost disappears. He realizes that the Trick Blade's duration has ended, and even though the skill is powerful, it has too short a duration. He finally kills the zombie Greed Demon and sighs, thinking that his current stamina doesn't allow him to fight for long. Yun Che's level increases by 1, making him admit internally that leveling up like this is already much quicker. He has gained a total of 2 levels, now reaching level 17. The system shows him his stats and notifies him that he has killed the zombie elite, obtained loot converted to Mirror World element, and gained an increase in Mirror World EXP. Yun Che thinks that by killing these monsters, he gains Mirror World EXP. Suddenly, he notices something and jumps up onto the higher rocks. Below, he sees a group of Ding family guards patrolling the area, making him wonder if they have noticed intruders. Xiao Ji suggests falling back since the number of monsters has already dropped. Yun Che agrees with him in his head, thinking that while fighting he also needs to watch out for the guards, and with his Trick Blade's boost duration still limited, he concludes he shouldn't go further. He thinks further that according to the skill book he just obtained, not every reverse skill is useful in combat. He looks at his Mirror World skill description and stats, noting that he still needs 30% more to level up this skill. He thinks that even at level 1 the skill is already strong, which leaves him wondering how powerful it could become after leveling up. He stands up, imagining that after killing the dungeon's boss, he could level up his Mirror World skill. Since there's less possibility of leveling this skill in other dungeons, he decides to check the central area's boss. Yun Che and Xiao Ji start walking toward the central area. Yun Che notices the frequent use of detection skills in the area, such as Rat Spirit Summon and Owl Summon. While walking, Yun Che spots the dungeon boss, chained up with multiple restraints and surrounded by many guards. Xiao Ji says it's his first time seeing a controlled dungeon boss. He adds that the school dungeon boss is usually guarded by teachers and notes that the chains holding this dungeon boss seem like high-level equipment. Yun Che stays silent, thinking that attacking the dungeon boss is risky since it's surrounded by so many guards. He knows he can't kill the boss while it's under siege. Instead, he decides to knock out the guards first and attacks one guard using his trick blade. The guard falls to the ground, and Yun Che removes his hood, saying that he will interrogate him for information. He orders the fallen guard to answer everything he asks. The guard, terrified, asks what Yun Che wants to know and promises to tell him everything, admitting that what the Ding family gives him is not worth dying for. Yun Che freezes for a moment, then decides to ask him about his main objective. The guard, trembling in fear, hesitates but then confirms about the Hero Dungeon Pass. He adds that these are common, as his old master has many of them piled up in his study. The guard smiles, assuming Yun Che is just a fan of the Hero Grandpa. Yun Che's aura intensifies in rage, and the guard yells that he is speaking the truth. He explains that he has seen his old master taking the passes from the study to leave with the guard captain. He also remarks that those passes are only for temporary use and are unregistered, so without internal assistance, anyone using them would surely get questioned by the guards later. Yun Che grabs the guard by his collar and tells him not to worry, instructing him to empty his system inventory. After some time, Yun Che, still holding the guard by the collar, and Xiaoji come out of the dungeon and enter the Ding family compound. Yun Che, with the guard in hand and a chanter skill book, asks the guard if he only possesses this book. The guard nervously confirms. The guard explains that the Ding family is greedy. They take all the dungeon drops while the guards only get scraps, with all the major treasures stored inside the inner residence. The system notifies Yun Che that he has learned Sunlight Baptism and Moonlight Blessing reversed. They reach the inner residence, where the guard tells Yun Che that the guards are not allowed to enter without summons. He adds that everyone inside is level 30 plus with top-tier gear, except for young Ding Su, which means the people inside don't even need guards. Yun Che leans toward the guard and asks if the pass is inside the inner residence. The guard confirms that it is not, but says that the head of the family is there. Yun Che and Xiao Ji stand in the courtyard, knowing that the family head, who is level 42, resides within the inner residence. The guard warns Yun Che that he won't be able to win against the family head, and explains that the old master and the third head are level 50 plus, though they are currently away on business. It would be even more dangerous if they returned. While thinking about the family head, Yun Che knocks the guard unconscious, and the man collapses to the ground. Yun Che then calls Xiao Ji and instructs him to stay put, reasoning that all they need to do is draw the family head out. Yun Che heads back into the dungeon and arrives at the dungeon boss's location. He notes that the dungeon won't disappear as long as the boss is alive, which is why the Ding family has used high-level chains to restrain it. He observes that the key lies in the chain's lock mechanism. Yun Che recalls that he mastered unlocking these kinds of chains in his past life. He sneaks up on one of the guards and kills him skillfully. The chain starts to glow, alarming the other guards. Yun Che quickly covers his face as the glowing chains begin to thrash wildly. The chains are level 60. Yun Che thinks to himself that this is the perfect plan to lure out the family head. The dungeon boss rises as it breaks free from the chains. Guards panic and shout that the boss has gone berserk. Outside the dungeon, the family head sends reinforcements rushing inside, while Xiaoji watches from a distance. Inside the dungeon, Yun Che acquires the level 60 combat chain and confidently thinks that with this, they can now easily enter the inner residence. At the entrance of the inner residence of the Ding family compound, two cars stop. The butler welcomes the second master and the young master as he opens the car door. Ding Hao, level 42 and the second head of the Ding family, steps out along with Ding Su. Ding Su feels embarrassed to be greeted by the second head in his current state, all because of Yun Che, while Ding Hao shrugs it off, calling it a trivial matter. Ding Hao happily leans down to open the car door for Yun Sha. Yun Sha, accompanied by a black-haired girl, steps out of the car. Ding Hao welcomes them to his house, but a servant standing ahead bows nervously. Upon noticing it, Ding Hao becomes furious and instantly kicks the servant hard, ordering him not to stand in the way. The four of them enter the inner residence while the servant lies outside on the ground. Xiao Ji watches the entire scene from a distance. Yun Che suddenly appears behind him, asking what happened and wondering why he looks so sad. Xiao Ji, startled, asks how Yun Che has returned so quickly. Yun Che explains that the dungeon lord is not easy to defeat even at level 30, so without him needing to make a move, it will take the Ding family a long time to bring it down. Yunche again asks Qiao Ji what he saw. Qiao Ji points toward the servant in the red shirt and says that he is his youngest uncle, Qiao Li, level 17. Yunche silently listens as Qiao Ji continues, saying that when Yunche rebelled in the past, his family had already been taken down. That meant they did not have to endure further humiliation afterward. Yunche gulps. Qiao Ji continues, explaining that ever since then, the Qiao family has borne the empire's hatred continuously. Under the secret instructions of the hero Ding Kuan, they were mistreated more and more until they ultimately decided to become servants of the Ding family. The Qiao family was forced to appear from time to time to showcase the hero family's so-called power and benevolence. Biting his lip, Qiao Ji says that the Qiao family can only watch the Ding family's expressions to survive and continue their miserable lives. He recalls how his father's generation had also tried to change things, but the result was tragic. His father lost his head and became a madman. Yunche clenches his fist in silence while Qiao Ji wonders if following Yunche was truly the right choice. Yunche steps past him, saying he needs to go inside. Qiao Ji instantly shouts that Ding Su's father is present, fully equipped at level 42, and if he notices Yunche, it will mean death. Yunche firmly responds that during times when dungeons are being controlled, if one doesn't take risks, then there is no hope of changing their lives. He tells Qiao Ji that if he hesitates, nothing will ever be achieved. Yunche turns to face him and offers his hand, telling Qiao Ji that this is his chance to change his life, but the decision must be his. He won't force him to fight. Frightened, Qiao Ji says that the Ding family is far too powerful and has immense influence. He questions if they can really go against them. Yunche, readying himself, says that he wants to fight not just the Ding family but the entire empire. With that, he leaps into the air, leaving Qiao Ji behind. Inside the inner residence, Ding Hao is sitting on the sofa. He asks his maid how the dungeon boss managed to break free from its chains. Yinsha addresses him as her uncle and asks if they came at a bad time. Ding Hao smiles, denying it, and says his older brother will take care of it. He remarks that a small dungeon like this is not more important than her. He adds that after hearing about her visit, his father and third brother immediately began heading back, and managing this situation will be easy. They have even reported it to Hero Grandpa, who can't wait to meet her. Up above, Yunche hides in the balcony, listening. He wonders who this Hero Grandpa is. Could it be Ding Kuan? Yunche remembers that a pass is needed to enter the hero's dungeon, and now he starts wondering about Yinsha. The way she is being treated makes him certain her status is high. Thinking about her surname, Yun, he notes that they share the same surname and questions whether it is really just a coincidence. Yunche moves from there while reminding himself to focus only on the pass, while the black-haired girl notices something from below. The maids continue to chatter as Yunche slips through a door and enters a room, arriving at the study. At that same moment, the family head along with his subordinates returns from the dungeon. The family head remarks that they have finally suppressed the dungeon boss, adding that it was being released with an evil intention, but they were unable to find any traces of the person responsible. He states that no one would take such a huge risk just to get their hands on high-grade equipment. The family head immediately orders the house to be covered, and his guards quickly follow. He thinks to himself that they cannot allow any accident to happen, especially since Yunsha has finally come to visit them. Inside the study, Yunche opens the drawers but finds nothing. He recalls what the guard he interrogated earlier said, that there were plenty of passes stored there. Yunche then uses his skill phasing to open a locked drawer. Inside, he discovers a diary, which he curiously picks up. In an instant, the diary and other books transform into high-quality skill books. The system displays the description of these books. They reduce the speed of enemy units within a 20-meter radius by 20%. Meanwhile, the Ding family guards surround the inner residence. Qiao Ji, hiding among the plants, trembles as he notices all the guards have gathered there. He wonders if they have been discovered. Fear grips him as he thinks that if Yunche doesn't come out soon, he himself will surely be killed. Cold sweat runs down his face as he remembers how his father and uncle died. He fears that if they catch him, the Ding family will gain yet another excuse to humiliate what remains of his family. Clenching his fists, he decides to save himself by slipping away quietly. Just as Qiao Ji nervously starts to move, a guard begins walking in his direction. At that moment, Xiaoji recalls Yun Che's words about helping him change his life. With desperation, he screams loudly, drawing the guards' attention. Instantly, several guards rush toward Xiaoji. As he runs, he secretly hopes that Yun Che escapes while he leads the guards away. Inside, Yun Che smashes through a window, shattering the glass as he leaps outside the inner residence. Hearing Xiaoji scream, he smiles, realizing that Xiaoji has finally made up his mind to fight back. Moving forward, Yun Che deliberately yells at the guards, claiming that he has obtained the chains and skill books, provoking them to chase him and reclaim the items. The guards immediately start running after him. Yun Che activates his slowing aura, which reduces the speed of enemies by 20% for 60 seconds, and then follows it with his accelerating aura, boosting the speed of friendly units by 30% for 60 seconds. The family head, upon realizing what is happening, orders his second and third squads to return immediately to protect the dungeon boss. He declares that the intruder is not heading for the exit but for the dungeon itself. Xiao Ji is left stunned, watching Yun Che lead all of the people in the opposite direction. Yun Che, running at full speed, thinks to himself that with so many guards now outside, the dungeon boss should be left poorly protected. He reasons that to keep the boss under control, the Ding family must have already fought a difficult battle, which means the boss is now at its weakest state. If he kills it now, he will be able to level up his mirror world skill. Noises from outside begin to echo into the inner residence. Yun Sha remarks that it sounds quite noisy outside and suggests to Ding Hao that he doesn't need to personally accompany her here. Ding Hao calmly reassures her, saying it is just a thief and that his elder brother can easily handle the matter. Outside, Ding Yi, the family head, yells at his guards not to block his path. He criticizes their lack of speed and orders them to flank from the opposite side to reach the dungeon boss. He commands his rogues and archers to follow him to capture the intruder. Meanwhile, Yun Che, sprinting forward, notices Ding Yi pursuing him. Yun Che recalls that every class gains 3 attribute points upon leveling up, and he has invested half of his points into agility. While dodging enemy attacks, he reminds himself that he has acceleration skills as well. With a powerful leap, he thinks that at level 30, only archers and rogues should be able to keep pace with him. Yun Che arrives at the central area where the dungeon boss lies, bound with chains and seals. Observing its weakened state, Yun Che wonders if the Ding family is truly so afraid of it that they keep it sealed so tightly. He realizes this is the boss's weakest condition and decides to release all his power at once to kill it in a single strike. The guards shout that Yun Che is present and begin to form their positions. Yun Che charges forward, activating chaotic thorns. The guards freeze in shock upon seeing the skill. One of them wonders aloud what kind of ability it is, while another admits he has never seen it before. As the guards remain unable to move, one suddenly realizes the truth, that it is a skill granting abnormal status. He exclaims that humans' resistance to abnormal statuses is much weaker compared to monsters, and wonders how it was applied so easily. A sudden blast erupts. One guard is struck, and another rushes to help. A black-haired guard shouts in alarm that someone has been hit. Another cloaked guard looks confused, while the black-haired one yells that this is possible only because the abnormal status effect is active. Yun Che advances, taking down the guards in his path with his blade. He thinks that if he can break through this group, he can reach the dungeon boss, which is already at low HP. Charging through, he hears the guards shouting at one another, questioning why the shield bearers aren't blocking the intruder and why crowd control skills aren't being used. Another shouts not to use any skills recklessly. Yun Che smirks, calling them a motley crew in his head, and thinks they have zero experience in real combat. He wonders if long-lasting peace has dulled their edge, leading to their downfall. The enemy leader finally orders his team to calm down, reminding them that Yun Che is just one person. As long as they overpower him together, he will fall. At that moment, Ding Yi arrives and commands his men to stop Yun Che. Fully equipping himself, he leaps forward with his blazing axe, fire swirling around him. Yun Che braces himself, preparing to counter. He decides to use the level 60 combat chains. He knows his level is not high enough to equip them properly, so he cannot gain their full stats, but he can still wield their raw power. As he steps forward, a massive purple skeletal arm appears around him, gripping the glowing chains. With immense force, Yun-Che strikes, his skeletal arm colliding with Ding Yi's beam of flames. The blast redirects toward the dungeon boss's seal, breaking through and striking the boss directly. Yun-Che shouts in triumph, thanking Ding Yi for the final push, while Ding Yi can only scream back in rage. Yun-Che strikes at the dungeon boss from multiple directions as the guards watch in disbelief. The boss falls down defeated. The system notifies Yun-Che that he has gained 3 levels, reaching level 20. His mirror world experience points max out, and his skill upgrades. Ding Yi grits his teeth, gripping his weapon in fury, and orders his guards to capture Yun-Che. They all rush forward, but before Ding Yi can land a strike, Yun-Che activates his mirror world skill. In an instant, he vanishes, leaving Ding Yi screaming in frustration. Now within the mirror world, Ding Yi and his guards are also present, but they stand frozen like statues, unable to move. As Yun-Che looks around in awe, the system notifies him, mirror walk activated. Remaining time, 29 minutes, 51 seconds. Yun-Che wonders if this is truly the world inside the mirror. Yun-Che touches a guard, and his hand passes straight through the body as if it were made of smoke. This makes him think that everything here is reversed left and right compared to the real world. And to him, these guards appear more like illusions. He sits down and holds a mirror shard, realizing he was wrong to think they were just illusions. When he lifts the shard, the system notifies him that he can bring the mirror shard out into reality. Yun-Che wonders if, after his mirror reversal skill reaches level 2, he will be able to bring other things out of the mirror world as well. He raises his hand to open his stat window, curious to see if the system interface also changes here. Checking his skill list, he notices that some of the skills are not yet activated. He also finds a section labeled base skills, which are not yet learned. He realizes this list shows the reversed forms of all skills, and he concludes that he must learn the base skills in the real world in order to activate their reversed versions here. He thinks that level 1 of mirror reversal was just a simplified version compared to level 2. As he scrolls through his skills, Yun-Che begins thinking ahead, selecting strong skill combinations in advance so he can plan for his future class progression. Suddenly, he turns his head, noticing something strange. Floating in the air are several soul-like forms. He wonders if they are really souls and questions whether others exist here as well. One of these soul-like forms suddenly transforms into a skeleton engulfed in green flames, rushing toward the ground where Yun-Che is standing. Yun-Che wonders if it has turned into an undead creature. Gripping his blade tightly, he strikes at the flaming skeleton from several angles. To him, the creature doesn't feel particularly strong. A system window pops up, catching his attention. The system asks if he wants to form a contract with the soul. It explains that after forming a contract, the soul can leave the mirror world and fight beside him. Its maximum level is 15, equal to Yun-Che's current level, and he can form up to 20 contracts in total. Yun-Che realizes that he can take souls out after defeating them. He concludes that the mirror world doesn't just allow him to extract stones and items. It even lets him bring the undead into the real world. Looking up, he sees countless more souls floating above him and calls the discovery interesting. Meanwhile, in the real world, the guards emerge from the dungeon, now inside a cave, confused as to why the intruder hasn't appeared even though the dungeon itself has vanished. One guard wonders where the intruder could have gone, while another suggests it might be the work of a rogue stealth skill. A purple-haired guard scoffs while tossing his dagger, saying that stealth always has a time limit and cannot remain undetected forever. Ding Yi, furious, grabs the purple-haired guard by the head and pushes him aside, shouting that if it wasn't stealth, then what was it? He yells at all of them, demanding to know how they let the intruder escape when there were so many of them. He threatens that if they don't find the intruder, they will all pay for the dungeon loss. At that exact moment, Yun-Che suddenly appears right behind them. Ding Yi and the purple-haired guard turn in shock to see him, while Yun-Che calmly studies his system window. He notes aloud that the time limit of Mirror Walk has ended and wonders if he will return to his original place or if there are additional conditions. Ding Yi roars in rage, ordering his guards to capture him. Yun-Che smirks, telling them to be patient. Leaning forward, he activates his skill, announcing that it's now his turn to return the favor after being attacked by all of them together. He summons the undead creatures he contracted, and the place fills with eerie green flames. Yun-Che laughs coldly, telling them to taste his undead army. The guards, terrified, cry out in panic, asking what the creatures are and speculating whether they are ghosts. Ding Yi quickly calms them, instructing them not to panic, explaining that they are just undead monsters. He declares confidently that he has seen many in his lifetime. As one undead approaches a guard holding a shield, its status bar becomes visible. The guard shouts in relief that they are only level 20. Ding Yi smirks, repeating that he told them to stay calm. He rallies his men, promising a bonus to anyone who catches Yun Che, and the guards charge enthusiastically. But midway, they pause in confusion. They can't see Yun Che anywhere. They begin shouting, wondering where he disappeared to. In truth, Yun Che is already sprinting toward the cave exit. He thinks to himself that his undead creatures are still too low in level, and if only he had stronger ones, he could have wiped out the entire motley group. He reminds himself that he has already filled all 20 contracts with what he deemed the strongest options available. The mirror world has its limitations. Once inside, he can only move within a radius of 200 meters. He decides that by exploring the mirror world in different locations, he might discover higher-level undead creatures to contract. As he runs, Yun Che spots Xiao Ji being restrained by a Ding family guard. The guard sneers that Xiao is good at hiding, but he won't let him escape because no one knows what rewards await for capturing him. Yun Che rushes forward and strikes the guard, forcing him to release Xiao Ji. Xiao Ji's eyes immediately turn to Yun Che, who grabs him by the collar and tells him they are leaving. Yun Che admits to himself that he has caused quite a mess and tells Xiao Ji firmly that they are heading back so he can count his gains. The guards are still fighting the undead creatures in the cave. One of them strikes down an undead, killing it, but then remarks that although these things are not very strong, he wonders why they revive after being killed. Suddenly, purple waves of energy surge through the air, eliminating all the undead at once. The guards look upward as a man steps forward, exhaling. It is Ding Gu, the third head of the Ding family, level 52. He explains that these creatures are being summoned. No matter how many times they revive, they consume magic points, and if they are killed enough times, they disappear completely. An old man with a beard asks if Yun Sha has left. Ding Hao, the second head, bows to his father, apologizing that he was not able to keep her here. He adds that the intruder was unusually bold, not only running freely around their residence, but even breaking through a window of their house. Ding Dan frowns, furious, saying that the intruder dared to break into their inner residence. He scolds his son, asking how they conduct themselves when they could neither capture the intruder nor even identify his face. Ding Hao, still bowing, accepts his mistakes but then adds that Yun Sha agreed to go to the hero's dungeon, remarking that at least their grandfather's matter faced no issues. Ding Dan, still frowning and disturbed by the incident, declares that once they discover who the intruders are, they will simply kill them, and he orders Ding Hao to find out quickly what else has been stolen. Elsewhere, Yun Che holds the dungeon pass, thinking that he has finally obtained it, but has not yet found anyone who can take him into the hero's dungeon. He shrugs it off, deciding there is no need to rush. He recalls that he leveled up to 20 at Ding Su's house, and that his Chimera Bone Ring is now damaged up to 94%. Still, he succeeded in obtaining more than 10 skill books from their private collection. Holding one of the books, he notes that the chants are all support skills he can use to stack his attributes. With enough of them, he believes he can overpower others at his level by stats alone. The system notifies him that he has gained boost combat power from the skill book. He also obtained the Corrupted Knight's Armor, a piece of equipment dropped by the dungeon boss that will be useful in the future. Most importantly, he has leveled up his Mirror World skill from level 1 to level 2. Yun Che reflects that the summoning power he gained from the Mirror World has increased his combat ability, but it is still not enough. Remembering the equipment on the statue of the so-called hero, he concludes that the hero must at least be an S-Rank Berserk class branch. He believes he will need to make a contract with a soul from the Mirror World of equal rank to reach level 50 or higher before he can even hope to defeat him. Beside him, Xiao Ji asks worriedly if the Ding family can catch them. Yun Che glances at him and assures him that they have lost their pursuers and, since they never showed their faces, it will not be a problem. Still, Xiao Ji remains nervous. Yun Che considers that Xiao Ji is still young and has already suffered a great deal. He asks Xiao Ji if there are any dungeons nearby where a powerful person has died in the past. Xiao repeats the question in confusion, So Yunshe clarifies that he is searching for a high-level dungeon to grow stronger, adding that Xiao will soon understand. After thinking, Xiaoji admits there is such a dungeon, narrowing his eyes as he mutters that it is the school's dungeon, but warns that they have no chance of sneaking in there. Yunshe reflects that the school's dungeon is monopolized and concludes that he will need to rely on special methods. Later, he presents 2 of the skill books he obtained to his teacher. The teacher is shocked to see a purple-quality skill book. Clearing his throat, he thinks to himself that Yunshe must have powerful backing. He explains that it is not within his control to open the school's dungeon, as access is already predetermined, but he adds that the dungeon has been opened for those about to graduate. Juniors, however, are not normally allowed inside. Yunshe smiles, and the teacher explains that if a student is extraordinary, he can join the expedition with a teacher's recommendation. He assures Yunshe that he will do everything he can to secure him a spot. Later, at the entrance to the school's dungeon, Yunshe and many other students gather. One black-haired student remarks that this may be his last dungeon, so he will do his best to grind as many monsters as possible. His friend, wielding metal claws, adds that they wouldn't even have this opportunity without the hero's gift. The black-haired boy thanks the hero. Yunshe, however, senses that something feels off about this dungeon. Their teacher steps forward and tells him that this valiant dungeon was gifted to the school by the hero. He adds that according to rumors, the hero once fought inside this dungeon, so there may be traces of him left there. Behind Yunshe, Xiaoji stands gloomily, clenching his fists. He nervously thinks about the valiant dungeon, knowing it is the place where the hero valiantly killed the traitor Qiao In. He debates whether he should tell Yunshe the truth. The teacher gives a stern warning, saying the dungeon is very dangerous, and instructs everyone to take care and act within their limits. He then calls Xie, another student, and instructs him to take care of the group. Xie frowns and complains, asking how he is supposed to level up like this. The teacher shrugs it off, telling him to go, since the dungeon is already open. Xie mutters about having to look after juniors as he steps onto the stairs, grumbling that he now has to babysit 2 useless kids. Pointing at Yunshe, he orders him to stay behind once they enter the dungeon, or else he will leave him there. Yunshe and Xiaoji step up as well. Yunshe thinks to himself that even though it is only a level 20 to 40 dungeon, it gives off a dangerous feeling. The students enter the dungeon and walk through a tunnel lined with glowing blue crystals. Xie notices Yunsha and Yunyun, wondering what they are doing there since their grades are lower. He then points at Yunshe and Xiaoji, saying that they also have lower grades, before smugly suggesting that it would be better if Yunsha joined his side. The student wearing a battle mask interrupts Xie, telling him to stop dreaming and pointing out that Yunsha and Yunyun are already above level 30. Xie freaks out as the masked student adds that Xie isn't even on their level. Embarrassed, Xie waves his hand, pretending to acknowledge the point. Yunsha and Yunyun begin walking towards Xie, but instead of stopping near him, they pass by, leaving him stunned. They approach Yunshe. At first, Yunshe doesn't recognize Yunsha, but then recalls she was the guest at the Ding family, the one of high status, and wonders why she has come to him. He questions whether she knows the original owner of his body, or if she is here to defend Ding Su. Yunsha tells him she saw him at the memorial yesterday, praising his movements and his distinct voice. Yunshe, unable to fully understand her intent, assumes she is simply making casual conversation. Yunsha leans in, saying that was the reason she recognized him even amidst the sound of shattering glass. Yunshe is stunned that she identified him from just the 2 sentences he shouted the day before. As she walks away, she changes her equipment and waves, saying her greeting is finished for today and that she and Yunyun will be going to explore. Yunyun also changes her equipment as she follows. Yunshe stands still, reflecting that even though Yunsha recognized him, she chose not to expose him publicly and simply gave a subtle reminder instead. He wonders if Xing who might have also recognized their voices, but reassures himself that it will be fine as long as the Ding family does not pursue them anytime soon. He thinks that with his current leveling speed, he won't have to worry for long. Considering that Yunsha showed him kindness, he decides to give them a warning, telling Yunsha and Yunyun to be careful because this dungeon gives off a dangerous vibe. They both take his words seriously. Yunsha admits that since he mentioned it, she also feels something strange, but assures him that with her level, she won't face any real danger. She thanks him for the warning. A group of students nearby are stunned to see Yunsha acting so openly with him. One holding a staff remarks that she is usually distant, so why is she behaving differently with Yunsha? All of them surround Yunsha, asking how he knows Yunsha and if he can introduce them to her. Yunsha brushes them off, saying they need to move forward. The students protest, asking how the two of them can go alone when the monsters here are at least level 20, warning that both of them will die, even to a basic monster. Xie interrupts the group, telling them to leave Yunsha and Xiaoji alone. He reasons that if Yunsha is close with Yunsha, that must mean he is also strong. One of the girls reminds them that Teacher Li instructed them to look after the juniors. Xie cuts her off, reminding them why they are really there, pointing out that the fewer people who know about this place, the better. He asks if they really want to share those precious crystals with Yunsha and Xiaoji. He instructs his group to keep their distress flares ready and to ignore Yunsha and Xiaoji entirely. Still, Xie is in a foul mood, fuming over how someone like Yunsha could be close to Yunsha. Looking upward, he bitterly thinks that Yunsha deserves to die for overestimating himself. At the entrance to the dungeon, Ding Su comes running toward a teacher. The teacher asks why he is there, and Ding Su demands information about the team that just went inside. The teacher asks what he wants, and Ding Hao, who is nearby, reminds Ding Su that just because Yunsha beat him at the memorial doesn't mean he can blame him and Xiaoji for what happened today. He adds that he doesn't have time to deal with Ding Su's mess. Ding Su yells that he knows their voices and insists it was truly them who broke into their residence. Ding adds that a student couldn't possibly have escaped from him and so many guards, while Ding Gu challenges Ding Su to prove that Yunsha and Xiaoji are stronger than the guards, or else he won't help him. Ding Dan silences them all, reminding them that they are discussing business, and orders Ding Su not to disturb them further. Ignoring the warning, Ding Su grabs the teacher by the collar, demanding to know if Yunsha and Xiaoji went into the dungeon, and resolves to enter it himself. Yunsha strikes and takes down a level 20 monster inside the dungeon. Another monster appears and starts to fire its attack toward him, launching multiple laser beams. Yunsha calls out to Xiaoji, and Xiaoji activates his surrounding shield on Yunsha. The shield can only be used on one unit, lasts for 3 minutes, and grants 500 durability and 700 defense. Xiaoji cheers, seeing Yunsha surrounded by golden flames. Yunsha charges forward with his trick blade, boosted by Xiaoji's encouraging shout, which increases his power and speed by 5%. He leaps above the monster and strikes it down with his blade. After killing the monster, Yunsha levels up to level 21. Xiaoji checks his stats as well and happily announces that he has leveled up too. His current level is now 11. Yunsha glances at the library of skill books he obtained from the Ding family, noting that among them are the skills Surrounding Shield and Encouraging Shout, which Xiaoji can already learn at his current level. As Yunsha walks away, he admits to himself that the monsters here are high level, but with Xiaoji's support skills, managing them is possible. The two continue forward, surrounded by blue reflecting crystals. Yunsha recalls that the teacher mentioned this dungeon contains a rare monster called the Obsidian Beast. Defeating it can grant the support type skill Gravitational Pull, a base skill already marked in his Mirror World list as a must-learn. Yunsha thinks not only about the Obsidian Beast, but also about the undead creatures he might encounter. He wonders where a strong person may have died in this dungeon, believing their soul might still linger, and hopes to find them in higher ground. Suddenly, Yunsha freezes. He spots a purple crystalled monster above and realizes more are grouping together in the Crystal Pillar Canyon. From their cliff vantage point, Yunsha and Xiaoji observe these elite-grade radiant stone beasts. Yunsha is stunned to see them moving together as a group. He notes the monsters have already roamed up to 1 kilometer, far beyond the usual range, and realizes they are wandering type. Wandering monsters roam freely in dungeons, often appearing in the same locations, and are stronger than normal monsters. Gripping his blade, Yunsha jumps down from the cliff toward the wandering monsters. He recalls that in the early days, when humanity was weak, encountering wandering monsters meant preparing for a brutal fight, since they could even leave the dungeon and cause catastrophic dungeon disasters. Yet, despite the danger, killing them provides far greater EXP and higher quality loot than normal monsters. Yunsha strikes at an obsidian crystal wall monster. but quickly realizes these monsters are far too strong. For now, he decides only to examine them. As he studies the creature, he notices it has healed itself, making him wonder if it has a continuous healing skill. Two more monsters step forward and unleash laser beams. Xiaoji immediately activates his shield around Yunche, but Yunche is struck by one of the beams, and he thinks to himself that their attacks are faster and more frequent than before. Even at full speed, he cannot dodge them all. Summoning his undead army, Yunche notes that his defense and HP have dropped dangerously low. If not for Xiaoji's surrounding shield, he might have been severely injured. His undead creatures appear at level 23, but even they cannot hold back the radiant stone beasts. Realizing the monsters are too powerful, Yunche seizes an opportunity to retreat. He thinks to himself that while the monsters are slow, his HP and defense won't improve anytime soon. Reaching Xiaoji, Yunche concludes that he needs a defense boost from Xiaoji's level up to fight these monsters properly. He suggests that Xiaoji target some normal monsters, startling him. At the low-level grinding zone, Xiaoji, clad in armor, stands opposite a monster. Yunche recalls having seen many monsters from higher ground earlier, perfect opponents for Xiaoji to level up on. Xiaoji blocks the monster's strike with his basic shield, while Yunche reflects on the importance of shield bearers. They are essential as the first line of defense, allowing other units to attack safely from behind while absorbing the enemy's damage. Yunche smiles as he thinks that since Xiaoji's last dungeon battle, all of his stats were put into defense, and he has also obtained the armor looted from the Ding family's guards. Now Xiaoji has the core defense abilities required for a shield bearer, which makes it easier for him to block level 20 monsters' attacks. Yunche yells toward Xiaoji to sink his body and steady his stance, instructing him to swing his shield in the direction of the attack. The durability of his shield drops less than before, so Xiaoji happily tells this to Yunche. In the following moment, Yunche shouts at Xiaoji to protect himself from the follow-up attacks, but Xiaoji receives a powerful strike from the monster, slamming him into a large crystal. He groans in pain, so Yunche steps in and strikes the monster, freeing Xiaoji. Yunche advises him to always pay attention to the enemy's next attack and to keep enough space to handle it by not overswinging his shield. Xiaoji stands up and listens carefully to what Yunche is telling him. Yunche advises him to keep his body relaxed while staying alert, only tightening at the moment of defense. He thumps Xiaoji's armor and tells him to continue. Yunche also reminds him that since he is behind his back, as a shield bearer, Xiaoji must always be aware of his teammates' movements. Xiaoji readies himself with determined eyes and defends against the monster's attacks with his shield, while Yunche counters with his blade. Yunche gives him a tip that when the difference in strength is not too big, then victory or defeat is only determined by techniques. After some time, Yunche and Xiaoji are standing together after defeating the monsters they were fighting. Yunche levels up to 22 and thinks that now Xiaoji can easily face enemies while gaining more EXP in return. Xiaoji happily says that he has reached level 15, which means he can finally learn his new skill through a shield armor skill book. He learns it, while Yunche notes that this is the last skill book from which Xiaoji can gain anything, the ones looted from the Ding family. Yunche further thinks that this skill will add outer armor to his summoned undead creatures, and the defense boost from shield armor will be more than enough to take down an elite-level wandering-type monster. At the Crystal Pillar Canyon, 3 of the teachers observe the elite wandering-type monsters. Leilai wonders where these monsters have come from and remarks that this is too dangerous for students, so they need to handle it themselves. Lei-In adds that they are able to handle level 30 monsters, but the ones they are seeing ahead are even stronger. A flare is fired into the sky, and the teachers remark that it is a student distress signal. The teachers stand up instantly, and Leilai says that first, they need to rescue the students in need. Lei-In argues that if they leave the wandering-type monsters behind, then there are high chances that students may run into them. Zhuangzheng agrees and takes responsibility, saying he will stay there. Leilai prepares to leave as golden flames cover his body, and he says that Zhuangzheng will stay just in case. Yunche and Xiaoji suddenly appear behind them. Yunche says that they will take care of this side and adds that the rescue signal could also be due to the wandering-type monsters, so only 2 teachers won't be enough. Leilai turns toward them, trying to know their identities, But Yunche begins to explain that these wandering-type monsters move slowly and have not detected them yet. If one watches from afar, then they will be absolutely fine. The teachers think for a moment and then decide to go. Leilai warns them that those monsters are extremely dangerous and instructs them not to act on their own. He adds that they need to hide themselves well because if they get spotted, it will be impossible to escape. Yunche, with confidence, says that it's the monsters instead who will not escape. Yunche strikes and takes down the monster. The undead creatures are also present, and Yunche sweats a bit when the monster begins gathering energy to attack. Xiao Ji calls out loudly, activating surrounding shield and shield armor to defend. A beam of light strikes one of the undead creatures hard. Yunche quickly strikes at the monster from different directions, and the monster takes damage. Hoping to finish it, Yunche leaps above and strikes from multiple angles, defeating the monster. The system announces the defeat of a level 30 wandering-type monster, and a purple beam of light appears. Yunche thinks that successfully defeating one wandering-type monster is helping him get used to this class, but compared to his previous life, he is still far from catching up. Moving through his undead army, Yunche jumps high and takes down another monster with a single strike, reflecting that using reversal skills increases his attack to some degree. However, he notes the base attack of a support class is too low, and he thinks that raising his attack power would make a big difference. Landing on the ground, he checks his system window and sees that he has leveled up again. As expected from an elite rare monster, killing it yields significant EXP. The system prompts him to pick up the dropped items. He steps forward, and the system shows the loot he has collected. Yunche widens his eyes. He has obtained a high attack weapon, the Crystal Longsword, boasting 552 attack points. Smiling, Yunche thinks this finally fills the gap in his base attack. He stands confidently, holding his new sword sparkling with lightning, thinking battles will now be much easier. Still, he feels disappointed that the skill book gravity pulled did not drop, noting its low drop rate. As Yunche reflects on the wandering-type monsters, a flare lights up the sky. He recognizes it as coming from the same direction where the earlier distress signal appeared, but now it's a special grade signal, only used by teacher squads. Elsewhere, Leilai, worn out and gritting his teeth, maintains a shield around himself and a group of students. They are cornered by wandering-type monsters, leaving them nowhere to go. He wonders aloud why so many of these monsters are gathering here. On higher ground, more students are present, protected by barriers while the wandering-type monsters surround them, aiming light beams at the shields. Yunsha and Yunyun are among them. Yunsha asks what happened for so many monsters to gather here. Zhuangzheng approaches her, explaining that the reason is still unclear. He says they came after following the signal and points to the cave where others are trapped inside. He adds that they are trying to organize a rescue, but the number of monsters is too high, and even with all the teachers, they lack manpower. Yunche, standing quietly in the crowd, listens. Zhuangzheng requests Yunsha's help. Smiling, she raises her hand, forming a sparkly cross star, saying it is their duty. She transforms the small cross star into a massive one, sending 6 stars into the air and forming glowing golden magic circles beneath her feet. Yunsha's skill boosts mental power by 2% and attack power by 20%. An orange-haired girl remarks that the buff is incredibly strong, while a curly-haired boy behind her says it's at least epic level. A monster charges at Yunsha, but she dodges by floating into the air. Yunyun steps in and strikes the monster with her dagger, defeating it. From higher ground, Yunche observes, while students behind him praise Yunsha and Yunyun's strength. One says they are powerful enough to rescue those inside, while another is stunned by their abilities. Yunche notes that not just their gear, but their skills are formidable as well, and he thinks that even without him, things will go smoothly. Still, while observing, he wonders what could possibly draw this many wandering-type monsters here. Deciding to investigate, he tells Xiao Ji to stay behind as he goes to take a look inside. Yunche activates his mirror walk, and the system begins the 30-minute countdown. Looking around, he remarks that the entire place is filled with crystals and mirrors, concluding he can enter the mirror world at any time. He notes he has no time to test the return to reality process, remembering that yesterday at the Ding residence, once the mirror world timed out, he could not re-enter. As he passes through the defender's zone, He wonders why people have reflections, but monsters do not. Moving forward, and questions whether he is the only living being with a physical form in the mirror world. Entering the cave, he finds Xie standing inside, trembling with fear. Yunshe walks further into the cave, thinking it looks like they were the ones who triggered the wandering-type monsters to gather here and fire the distress signal. He notes that using the narrow terrain to defend themselves means they won't be in immediate danger. Still, curiosity gnaws at him about what exactly caused the monsters to gather here. Moving deeper, he pauses as he sees something unusual, wondering how something like that could possibly exist here. Yunshe discovers a special crystal ore, realizing this must be the reason why Xie and his group gathered in the cave. He explains to himself that, compared to ordinary crystals from the outside world, dungeons produce materials that cannot be found elsewhere. These rare items can be used by lifetime professionals to craft gear, accessories, and other valuable items. Yunshe remarks that these ores are far more precious than gold. He reaches out to collect the crystal, and the system notifies him that this item can be taken back to the real world. Yunshe pauses, wondering about the implications. He concludes that as long as there is a mirror surface, he can return to reality from within the mirror world. Smiling, he collects the crystal and notes that there are still many things to discover with this skill, so he needs to take his time and research it carefully. As he walks deeper to explore the cave, Yunshe observes that the ore is present in enormous quantities. If all of it were mined at once, it would be enough to turn an ordinary person into a billionaire. Because of its importance, it's clear why so many wandering-type monsters are gathering in this area. Meanwhile, in the real world, Yunsha and Yun continue fighting monsters. One of the students asks if all of their skills are epic tier, marveling at their overwhelming power. Another student whispers that they seem even stronger than the teachers. Yun strikes down a monster right in front of Xie and his companions, saving them. The group, who thought they were about to die, express relief. Yun tells them to stay alert, reminding them that they still need to fight their way out, and that everyone else is already exhausted. Standing behind her, Yunsha says that things have become easier now, but then notices something. At the same time, Xie and his companion freeze in terror. They all see it. They have been surrounded by hundreds, even thousands of monsters. One of the students shouts in panic that all of the wandering types from the entire dungeon have gathered here. Inside the mirror world, Yunshe strikes his way through crystal walls, noting that the place feels like a maze. Suddenly, his eyes widen as he sees a massive, glowing crystal above. He wonders if this could be the dungeon's hidden treasure. Yunshe explains to himself that if various crystal ores are merely dungeon products, then the crystal core he is now seeing must be the dungeon's one and only hidden treasure. This treasure is the crystallized essence of all rare products within the dungeon. It takes an extremely long time to form and appears only at irregular intervals, so rare that a normal person might never see one in their lifetime. That is why hidden treasures always have special functions. Yunshe smiles as he obtains the mirror crystal core. Its properties show no level requirement, but it increases stamina and mana recovery rates while reducing light and electric damage. Yunshe notes with satisfaction that this treasure will boost his base stats and reduce damage taken. Faster stamina recovery will increase his HP limit. Faster mana regeneration will allow him to create more trick blades, and added resistance will help him endure dangerous battles. What excites him most is the 20% light and electric damage reduction, something difficult to achieve even with high-quality gear. On top of that, the crystal core doesn't even occupy an equipment slot. Still, Yunshe reflects on the strangest part. Crystal ores attract wandering types, so a hidden treasure should naturally summon something far stronger than ordinary wandering types. Deciding to make use of it, he presses the use button. The system prompts him again, explaining that using or taking the item will consume 10 minutes of mirror walk time. Back in the real world, the students, including Yunsha and Yun, stand frozen in fear as the cave begins to tremble violently. From the depths, an enormous monster emerges. One student whispers in shock, asking if this is the wandering type lord, while another shouts in terror that it's the hidden boss. A wandering lord, a hidden boss, suddenly appears, one that is independent from the dungeon lords. Its strength far surpasses that of any regular lord, and not even the teachers or the strongest students can handle it. The Wandering Lord launches a devastating attack toward the shielded group of students. One student cries out in disbelief, questioning how such a creature could appear here, since Wandering Lords only exist in high-level dungeons. Panic spreads as he shouts that if this continues, everyone will die. Yun Sha takes a deep breath and firmly addresses everyone, telling them to stay calm. She emphasizes that, at this moment, the most important thing is to escape together. Pointing ahead, she explains that there's a canyon leading out of the basin, and if they can reach it, they'll be able to escape safely. Raising her hand, Yun Sha channels her power, summoning radiant stars that shine above to strengthen her allies. Charge forward, no matter what happens, she commands. Lei Lai steps forward, activating his armor with determination. He vows to get the students out safely. Once his armor fully materializes, he orders the tanks and teachers to take turns leading while he goes ahead first. One of the teachers strikes a monster, while the tanks raise their shields to block incoming attacks, and healers provide support from behind. They keep advancing, punching, blocking, and shielding against waves of monsters. Hold on just a little longer, one teacher shouts. We're almost there. The Wandering Lord roars fiercely, and all the monsters within the dungeon begin swarming toward the shielded group. A student curses in fear, yelling, "Where are all these monsters coming from?" The Wandering Lord releases a surge of power, forming a massive magic circle above the smaller monsters. Their stats rise dramatically, and one of them smashes through a tank's shield in a single blow. Their power has increased, a teacher warns. Another cries out that he can't heal fast enough. Moments later, that teacher is struck down and eliminated. A student screams in horror, shouting that one of the teachers is gone. Yun Sha quickly instructs the shield guards and healers to support each other. Sweat trickles down her face as she realizes that everyone has already exhausted their energy and is barely able to maintain their defenses, and the Wandering Lord hasn't even made a serious move yet. A cloaked teacher mutters in despair that they can't hold out any longer and will never break through. Panicking, he dashes forward, yelling that it's better to try escaping alone. He rushes straight into the lair of monsters. Lei Lai stops a student from following, warning that the man's stealth skill won't last long. Suddenly, a blinding light flashes. Lei Lai looks up and sees the Wandering Lord preparing another attack. "Everyone, be careful," he shouts. The Wandering Lord fires a massive beam that taking down everything ahead. Thick smoke fills the air as the canyon collapses, blocked by falling debris. A curly-haired student murmurs in despair that the Wandering Lord destroyed the canyon. His body trembles as he admits in hopelessness that there's no escape left. The Wandering Lord begins gathering energy again for another attack. The same curly-haired student turns pale and whispers, "It's over. It's targeting us now. We can't stop this." At that moment, Yun Sha and Yun Yun leap out from behind the shields, summoning two powerful barriers, Giant Shield and Rock Mountain Shield, both imbued with high-level stats. The Wandering Lord's beam slams against them with explosive force. From behind the shields, Yun Sha yells for everyone to come forward and reinforce the line. "If these shields fall, we're done," she warns. She explains that the shield she's using is a level 70 artifact, extremely durable but too heavy for most to wield, making it difficult to move. She prays it will hold long enough to buy more time. Siam mutters aloud, "How can a school dungeon have a monster like this?" Another student snaps back, blaming him, saying that if not for him, none of them would have come here. Lei Lai strains under the pressure of holding the barrier, wondering if all his effort will be for nothing. He thinks about Yun Che and Xiao Ji, feeling at least a small sense of relief that they didn't come. But as he turns his head, his expression freezes. Xiao Ji is there. Lei Lai's eyes widen in shock as he recalls that Xiao Ji and Yun Che were supposed to stay behind on the other side of the valley. "Why did he come here?" he mutters. Before he can think further, the shields finally shatter into pieces after being struck by a smaller monster. "Encircling shield now," Xiao Ji shouts. Lei Lai is hit by a beam from one of the monsters, but a defensive barrier suddenly activates, saving him at the last second. His armor cracks apart. He realizes the outer defenses have been broken, and another monster raises its fist to crush him. Lei Lai closes his eyes, admitting to himself that there's no one left who can stand against the wandering species. Then, out of nowhere, Xiao Ji jumps forward, forming a powerful shield that collides with the monster's fist, blocking the attack. Lei Lai stares in astonishment, wondering when Xiao Ji gained such power. However, the small monsters quickly overwhelmed the group, shattering every remaining shield. Lei Lai feels despair wash over him as he thinks their defense has completely fallen apart. Xiao Ji's armor breaks under the pressure, and he collapses to the ground. The monsters gather energy above him, preparing to unleash a deadly barrage. Then suddenly, Yunshe appears. In one swift motion, he strikes down all the monsters about to attack Xiao Ji. Lei Lai's eyes widen in awe as Yunshe stands tall amidst the devastation, his sword gleaming in the light. Calm and composed, Yunshe praises Xiao Ji for doing his best. Xiao Ji reaches out a trembling hand toward him, whispering Yunshe's name. Yunshe gives him a warm smile and gently says, "You've done enough. Leave everything to me now." When Yunshe was inside the mirror world, standing before the radiant crystal ore, he realized that aside from this one, there must also exist an original crystal ore in the real world. The thought made him happy, knowing this crystal ore could help him double his gains. However, there was one problem. He couldn't take the ores out freely. The system displayed a message explaining that extracting 75 crystal ores would consume 750 minutes of mirror walk time. Yunshe quickly calculated that taking out a single crystal would require 10 minutes of mirror walk time. After analyzing his options, he decided to extract only the most valuable crystal core for now. The system interface appeared, displaying his current stats window. Suddenly, the cave began to tremble violently. Yunshe's eyes widened in alarm, wondering what was happening. Without hesitation, he began rushing back, questioning whether he could still return from the mirror world in time. The system notified him that his remaining mirror walk duration was 12 minutes and 54 seconds. A confident smirk formed on Yunshe's face. As long as the mirror walk timer hadn't expired, he could enter and exit freely. Once the time ran out, the cooldown period would begin. With a burst of speed, he dashed through the cave and exited the mirror world. Upon emerging, he saw a massive herd of monsters gathering outside. He thought to himself that even if they were attracted by the crystal ore, there shouldn't be this many. Raising his gaze, he froze. The wandering lord had appeared. In that instant, he realized the true source of danger. Without hesitation, he rushed toward Xiao Ji and the others. He quickly discovered that he could freely enter and exit the mirror world during combat, allowing him to dodge monster attacks effortlessly. Checking his status, he noted that his level was 24, total magic power 40, and magic recovery speed 2.6 per second, with a core bonus of plus 0.5 times 2. His attack power could rise to 330%. The system interface appeared again, showing that his blade attack boost was 180%, with 8 seconds remaining. Yunshe evaluated the situation, thinking that while these stats were impressive, the Wandering Lord was far stronger than a domain boss. He would need to reach at least level 30 to face it properly. Switching rapidly between the mirror world and reality, Yunshe struck down monsters surrounding Xiao Ji. Each time he entered the mirror world, then reappeared, his attacks became faster and deadlier. He called out to the others, urging those with support-type abilities to buff him. "Enhance me. I'll take care of the wandering spawns," he shouted. Yunsha activated her star trick magic, while Xiao Ji used his ring-type armor. Their combined effects boosted Yunshe's mental power and attack strength, allowing him to obliterate a monster instantly. Even though there were countless enemies, his HP had increased thanks to the crystal core, and his resistance to lightning-based damage had improved by 40%. Yunshe thought to himself that he wasn't in immediate danger anymore, though the monster's immunity to confusion spells was slowing his progress. Nearby, Lei Lai and the other students watched with wide eyes. One student noticed the chanting indicator above Yunshe's status bar and wondered aloud why his attack power was so high. Lei Lai shouted in disbelief, asking what kind of skill Yunshe was using to phase through monsters from every direction. Clutching his injured shoulder, he thought that all his earlier worries about Yunshe had been unnecessary. As Yunshe continued eliminating monsters, his experience bar rapidly filled, and he leveled up multiple times. Watching the scene, Yunsha's eyes widened in realization. She had underestimated him. She had once thought of Yunshe as nothing more than a thief, but now she saw that his strength far surpassed her expectations. Yun silently observed from behind, equally astonished. Yunshe continued shifting between dimensions, entering and exiting the mirror world. as he defeats more monsters, leveling up 3 times in quick succession. A student nearby whispered in awe, wondering if Yun-Che was an outside support unit and marveling at his overwhelming power. Lei shook his head and replied that he had seen him before, revealing that Yun-Che was actually just a student. The others were stunned. A student that powerful was beyond belief. The Wandering Lord suddenly began gathering energy for another massive attack. Lei noticed the change and shouted a warning. The students screamed that it was preparing to fire again. The Wandering Lord unleashed its devastating beam toward the ground. Yun-Che quickly leapt back, dodging the strike, and realized that if it had hit him directly, he wouldn't have survived. He noted that the Wandering Lord was moving closer, and once it reached them, even the 2 remaining shields wouldn't be able to withstand its attacks. Lei shouted to everyone, "Break through the exit now. There are fewer monsters ahead." He warned that if the Wandering Lord advanced any further, they'd all be doomed. No matter how strong Yun-Che is, he can't defeat that thing. Lei yelled. The students argued among themselves. One insisted the shields were too heavy to move. Another said that moving them would expose them to the monster's attacks. Others added that they could only carry the shields if they stored them in their inventory. At that moment, Yun-Che stepped forward and told them to leave the shields to him. He explained that he would attack the Wandering Lord to draw its attention, giving everyone else the chance to escape. Lei, visibly worried, asked what Yun-Che would do if they ran while he stayed behind. But Yun-Che was already deep in thought. He knew that if they simply escaped, the Wandering Lord would gather more monsters and eventually reach the outside world. He remembered his past experiences, how nearly every great cataclysm had been caused by a Wandering Lord's rampage. Resolute, he turned to Lei and said firmly, "I'll stay behind and finish it." The system window appeared again, displaying blade attack boost, 7 seconds remaining in mirror world duration, 5 minutes and 41 seconds. Teachers and students are sprinting to escape. Lei yells out, urging everyone to hurry, warning that they don't have much time left. He shouts that even though Yun-Che is incredibly strong, facing so many monsters along with the Wandering Lord will eventually drain his stamina. He explains that if everyone escapes quickly, Yun-Che will have a chance to retreat as well. Another teacher runs up beside him, asking anxiously if Yun-Che really said he would eliminate the Wandering Lord. Lei shakes his head and replies that Yun-Che only said that to ease their fears. He reminds the teacher that Yun-Che is up against the Wandering Lord, something no ordinary person can face alone. Meanwhile, Xiaoji, while running, feels a heavy sense of guilt. He berates himself for being useless, regretting that he can't do anything to help. He silently hopes Yun-Che doesn't get into trouble. Back on the battlefield, Yun-Che continues to strike the Wandering Lord from every direction, moving in and out of the mirror world at lightning speed. Each time he attacks, he gains experience and levels up, but the Wandering Lord counterattacks ferociously. Yun-Che reappears from the mirror world, leaps forward, and strikes directly at it. He quickly glances at its status bar. Its defense is incredibly high. The small amount of damage he inflicted heals instantly through its regeneration skill. Standing before the colossal monster, Yun-Che realizes what he must do. His eyes narrow as he focuses on the crystal or embedded in its head. It must be the weak point. However, his attacks are still not strong enough to break it. He notices that the buffs he received earlier are fading, and his MP is draining rapidly. Without sufficient magic power, he won't be able to sustain his trick blade skill for long. He strikes again and again, thinking he needs to level up fast before his strength fades. But soon, the Wandering Lord begins to anticipate his movements. It launches a devastating barrage of energy blasts. Yun-Che is hit, his HP drops sharply, his MP continues to fall, and he realizes his mirror walk time is almost gone. The system displays, remaining mirror walk, 3 minutes and 46 seconds. He contemplates summoning his undead army to dodge the attacks, but then hesitates. Reviving undead consumes too much MP, leaving him with little power to strike back. He questions whether he should retreat or try to recover. Suddenly, a shield manifests in front of him. Yun-Che looks up, startled, to see Xiaoji, Yun-Sha, and Yun-Yun standing before him. Just as he begins to ask what they're doing here, Yun-Sha interrupts, explaining that Xiaoji begged them to come help. Xiaoji, flustered, mutters that he didn't beg that much. but admits that since most people had already escaped and the number of monsters had decreased, he decided to come. Yunche gives them a warm smile and thanks them sincerely. Yun Sha stands beside the undead army, stating that they'll cover him while slowly retreating. But Yunche shakes his head and raises his blade, telling them there's no need. With your help, he says confidently, I won't be holding back anymore. He strikes down another monster and levels up again. The system window flashes, level 30 reached. Yunche smiles confidently, thinking his attack power is finally enough. He equips the corrupted knight armor, a powerful drop from the Ding family dungeon. Curious, Yun Sha asks if he plans to go after the Wandering Lord's weak point. She cautions him that it's impossible to reach such a height. Yunche opens a skill book, his eyes gleaming. The moment he's been waiting for has finally arrived. The system displays the description of his new skill. Gravitational pull, consumes 10 MP per second, pulling the target object toward the user. Gravitational draw, reverse, consumes 10 MP per second, pulling the user toward the target. Yunche smirks, realizing the second skill will allow him to reach the Wandering Lord's weak point. His trick blade attack power surges by another 30%. He reassures everyone, telling them calmly, everything is under control. Dark purple energy flares around his hand as Yunche activates the ability. He braces himself and leaps high into the air, using gravitational draw, reverse to pull himself directly toward the Wandering Lord. He lands atop its massive head, standing before the crystal ore. Yun Sha and Yun gasp in disbelief as Yunche breaks through the surrounding barriers protecting the core. The Wandering Lord roars in agony, launching another energy shower. Yunche's HP drops sharply as his system warns of critical damage. Gritting his teeth, he focuses all his remaining strength and strikes the crystal core with a powerful swing of his trick blade. The system window flashes brightly, Wandering Lord defeated. Yunche gains 5,000 EXP and earns the title Wandering Slayer. 2 legendary skill books drop before him, Golden Light Barrier and Angel's Blessing. After defeating the Wandering Lord, Yunche's level rises to 33. Xiao Ji, overwhelmed, exclaims that Yunche has become far stronger, while Yun Sha, still in disbelief, mutters that Yunche actually defeated such a terrifying beast all by himself. Meanwhile, standing atop the fallen Wandering Lord, Yunche notices that the loot includes 2 legendary items. Just as he is about to comment, the massive creature's body begins collapsing. Yun Sha shouts in alarm that the monster is falling, and that Yunche is still on top of it. Yunche immediately begins sprinting toward the ground, jumping from the crumbling body. As the Wandering Lord crashes down with an earth-shaking impact, Yunche notices a hollow mountain through a broken section of the wall nearby. Curiosity guiding him, he steps inside and is met with a grim sight. Countless remains of both humans and wandering creatures. From the heavy battle marks carved deep into the walls, Yunche realizes that an even stronger Wandering Lord than the one he just defeated was once born here. That explained the fierce, ancient traces of battle surrounding him. Suddenly, something catches his eye, a familiar face among the remains. Yunche freezes. It's someone he once knew. Xiao Binbin. His heart sinks. Binbin, Yunche whispers softly, staring at the figure from the lower ground. Yun Sha approaches and, surprised, wonders aloud if this is the same traitor Xiao and she had heard about, the one said to have been defeated here by the hero Ding Kuan. She adds that she never expected to see him standing in such a state. Observing the devastation around them, Yun Sha remarks that this battlefield looks nothing like the statues displayed in the memorial hall. It's as if he fought against endless waves of monsters and humans alike, she says. He doesn't seem like someone who was trampled or defeated easily. Yunche remains silent. Xiaoji steps forward and begins to speak, his voice trembling. You might not believe me, he says, but I don't think my great-grandfather was an evil man. He recalls his childhood, explaining that he had always searched through history trying to uncover the truth about his great-grandfather. The records were vague, especially about the details of his life. But I did find something, Xiaoji continues. He always entered dungeons far beyond his recommended level. My great-grandfather was an S rank, level 60. So why would someone like him come to a low-level dungeon like this? He looks down at his hands and answers his own question. Because this dungeon breeds wandering lords. He explains that wandering lords are catastrophic entities capable of summoning all kinds of monsters. In the past, the officials didn't have armies strong enough to defend against dungeon outbreaks, so they relied on powerful individuals to stop the threats early. My great-grandfather was one of those heroes, Xiao Ji says, his voice rising. He came here to destroy the root cause before it could spread. Yun Che, Yun Sha, and Yun Yun stand silently, listening to every word. Xiao Ji lowers his head. You probably think I'm imagining things, he murmurs. Even my own family doesn't believe me. That's why I never speak about it. Yun Che gently places a hand on his shoulder and gives a warm smile. I believe you, he says. Yun Sha and Yun Yun glance at Yun Che in surprise. Xiao Ji's eyes glimmer with emotion as Yun Che's words sink in. Yun Che smiles softly and thinks to himself that Binbin was never the kind of person history made him out to be. His memories drift back to the past, back to Binbin's youth. He remembers the boy's confidence as he once declared that he didn't need Yun Che as a master. Binbin had jokingly vowed to surpass him and make him retire. There was a time when Binbin, during a battle with monsters, screamed for help from his master. After being saved, he would stubbornly complain about being rescued and make excuses every time. When he was caught limping from an injury, he would laugh it off, saying he was just the type who secretly works hard to surprise everyone later. Before heading into a dangerous dungeon, he had brushed it off as not life-threatening. When asked why he chose the Sword Guard class, a seemingly weaker advancement from Shield Bearer, he had confidently replied that no other shield-type class could keep up with him, since he invested all his points into strength and speed. In the end, Binbin's life was lost here, fighting hordes of wandering monsters. He had faced too many to overcome, saving others simply as a byproduct of his final stand. Yun Che lowers his head and silently calls his name in his thoughts. Binbin, I'll take revenge against the Ding family for you. Later, at the Ding estate, Ding Ji's expression hardens as he asks, is it true? Ding Su firmly replies that it is. If you don't believe me, he says, ask the teachers. Yun Che's power is real. He explains that he was stopped at the dungeon entrance because of the level restriction. When the group finally returned, everyone was talking about the fall of the Wandering Lord. People were saying someone had defeated it. Ding Su continues. Everyone was praising Yun Che's performance. When one student mentioned his name, they all began wondering about his true identity. At that moment, Ding Su had been left speechless. Now, within the Great Hall, every head of the Ding family sits in stunned silence. Ding Blonde rises abruptly and orders the family guards to accompany him into the dungeon immediately. As he recalls Ding Su's words about Qiao family members being there, his eyes narrow coldly. Bring the members of the Qiao family before me, he commands in an icy tone. Yun Che gathers the skill books scattered throughout the dungeon. He picks up the golden light barrier and hands it to Xiao Ji, telling him to learn it since it has no level requirement. Yun Sha is stunned to see Yun Che casually giving away a legendary skill book like it's nothing. Yun Che calmly explains that the skill is exclusive to shield bearers, so he can't use it himself. Xiao Ji hesitates, holding the skill book nervously. Yun Che encourages him, saying that his great-grandfather might have used this very same ability in the past. Yun Sha smirks and remarks that Yun Che certainly doesn't lack powerful skills. She admits that even though her own abilities are high level, she still falls far behind him, whether it's his mysterious vanishing skill or his ability to summon undead creatures. Yun Che freezes for a moment at her words. Internally, he notes that his undead summons are formed from souls, and there are others, restless spirits, that exist within the mirror world as well. Feeling uneasy, he activates his mirror walk skill and steps into the mirror world. A system window appears. Skill refreshed, mirror world time remaining, 29 minutes and 59 seconds. Yun Che exhales and wonders if he can safely use the ability here. As he looks toward the statue of Binbin, it suddenly begins to glow faintly. Yun Che murmurs Binbin's name. Meanwhile, in the real world, Yun Yun reminds Yun Sha that they should return soon. She still has her audience ceremony to attend. Yun Sha sighs, realizing they've been trapped inside the dungeon for far too long. Thinking about that ceremony is going to be interesting, she says dryly. Xiaoji approaches and asks where Yun Che is. Yun Sha replies that he's been gone for quite some time and hasn't returned yet. Inside the mirror world, Yun Che slowly approaches the statue of Binbin, quietly repeating his name. Binbin, I never thought we'd meet again, he says softly. There are so many things I wanted to tell you. A dark purple aura begins to surround the statue, and suddenly, Binbin's stone form lets out a deep, echoing roar. Yunche feels a pang of sadness. It's a pity, he murmurs. You can't even respond anymore. But before he can take another step, the purple energy surges toward him. The statue's eyes ignite with a violet glow, locked directly on Yunche. Startled, Yunche steps back as he's engulfed in fragments of Binbin's memories floating within the aura, memories filled with flashes of his past battles and pain. In one memory, Yunche sees Ding Kuan striking Binbin from behind. Why does Ding Kuan's stance look so familiar? Yunche wonders to himself. Moments later, the memory shatters like glass, scattering across the mirror world. Yunche whispers Binbin's name again, his expression filled with sorrow. But before he can recover, the undead Binbin lunges toward him, sword in hand. Yunche raises his blade just in time to parry the attack, attempting to speak. But the undead version of Binbin continues swinging relentlessly, his strikes driven purely by instinct. He considers retreating, but a system alert flashes before his eyes. Unable to exit. Current area of mirror world is restricted. Yunche stares at the message in shock, realizing he can't leave. With a resigned sigh, he mutters, "So be it, there's no choice but to fight." Back in the real world, Xiao Ji's eyes widen as he spots Ding Su and Ding Gu approaching, accompanied by a squad of armed guards. Ding Gu smirks and asks where Yunche is, wondering aloud if he noticed them coming and ran away. With a mocking tone, he adds, "Without Yunche, the fun's only half as good." Xiao Ji, trembling, mutters Ding Ji's name and nervously looks toward the ground. Sweat forms on his forehead as he asks why they're here, wondering aloud if they've come for training too. Dinga loosens his tie and laughs coldly. "Stop pretending," he says. "Were you sneaking into my house with Yunche to steal something?" Xiao Ji immediately denies it, but Ding Su leans closer and says in a low voice, "Do you really think I wouldn't recognize your voice?" Xiao Ji freezes, panic written all over his face, as Ding Gu raises his hand dismissively. "It doesn't matter," he says with a cruel grin. "I've brought you a little gift." The Ding family heads and their guards smirk as they bring forward Xiao Ji's captured family members. Xiao Ji's eyes widen in disbelief as he sees his grandparents, uncle, aunt, and his mother standing before him. His grandfather furiously orders him to kneel. He commands Xiao Ji to apologize to the hero family and to the young master, Ding Su. Xiao Ji mutters that he doesn't want to do it anymore. His grandfather glares at him and reminds him how he was raised since childhood, to always act submissive before the Ding family. He shouts again, demanding him to kneel. Finally, Xiao Ji snaps. He shouts back, asking if his grandfather truly intends for the Qiao family to remain as the Ding family's servants forever. His words make everyone in the Qiao family freeze in fear. They begin to sweat nervously. His uncle drops to his knees, shouting that they should obey and admitting that, as descendants of a so-called traitor, being treated like servants is already more than they deserve. Xiao Ji's aunt trembles and pleads with him, asking if he wants the entire family to be killed. She reminds him to think about his father. Xiao Ji's aunt continues, saying that he should remember how much his mother has suffered, trying to hold the family together after his father lost his sanity. Xiao Ji stands in silence for a moment. After a deep breath, he looks up and murmurs, telling everyone to look behind them at the statue of Binbin. He explains that his great-grandfather entered this dungeon to prevent a catastrophe before it began. He adds that countless monsters attacked him at once, and he sacrificed himself to stop them. He continues confidently, saying that he has spent years collecting information about his great-grandfather but lacked solid proof, until now. Narrowing his eyes, he clenches his fists and declares that the evidence is standing right before them. He asserts that his great-grandfather was never a traitor and that the truth is completely different from the lies they were told. The Qiao family listens in silence as Xiao Ji raises his voice, shouting that once their ancestor's name is cleared, they will no longer have to live as servants. He grits his teeth and declares that the Ding family has no right to treat them this way. With fiery determination in his eyes, he yells that his grandfather's family, his uncle-in-law, and his second uncle's family should never have died because of the Ding family's cruelty. Ding Gu bursts into laughter, clutching his head. He calls Xiao Ji's words childish, saying mockingly that this is exactly how things should be. As he begins walking forward, He admits that Xiao Ji spoke the truth. Binbin was indeed ambushed and killed, and he was not a traitor. He explains that his own grandfather gained power by attacking Binbin in the past. Then, leaning close to Xiao Ji, he sneers. But who cares? He shouts that Binbin was labeled an imperial traitor, so it was necessary to vilify him. He coldly adds that nobody cares that Xiao Ji's father went insane, and nobody cares about the people who died. His voice grows louder as he declares that descendants of traitors deserve to live as servants. He points toward the Qiao family and says that they have known this truth all along. Xiao Ji's eyes widen, his body frozen in shock. Ding Gu smirks, revealing that this is exactly how Xiao Ji's family members met their end. He straightens his tie and coldly orders, "Kneel." All of the Qiao family members drop to their knees. Xiao Ji's mother, her face pale and tear-streaked, begs her son to kneel too. She pleads for him to admit his mistakes, saying it's useless to resist. She begins crying, sobbing that she can't bear to lose her son after her husband's madness, that she simply can't take any more pain. Xiao Ji's body trembles. A flash of memory fills his mind. His mother when she was healthy, smiling at him and telling him to never listen to others, to always do his best, because he is the best. Ding Su sneers and walks toward him, kicking him while calling him ignorant and slow as ever. He shouts that it doesn't matter whether Xiao Ji kneels or not. It won't change anything. But Xiao Ji immediately blocks the kick with his arm, grabs Ding Su's leg, and slams him hard onto the ground. Ding Su screams in pain as Xiao Ji glares down at him with fierce eyes, declaring that he will never kneel again. Ding Su exhales sharply, then rises to his feet, summoning his massive hammer. Rage fills his face as he shouts, demanding how Xiao Ji dares to lay a hand on him. He charges forward again, swinging the hammer, yelling for Xiao Ji to know his place. But before the blow can land, Xiao Ji counters, striking Ding Su's face with his shield. Ding Su stumbles back, stunned that Xiao Ji managed to hit him. Holding his shield tightly, Xiao Ji calls out softly to his mother, then suddenly shouts with all his strength, "We are the true descendants of heroes." With that, he slams his shield forward again, punching Ding Su squarely in the face. Ding Gu narrows his brows as he watches Xiao Ji. Meanwhile, Ding Su, clutching his head in rage, shouts in disbelief, demanding to know how Xiao Ji could have suddenly become so strong. Furious, he charges forward, throwing punch after punch, but Xiao Ji deflects every strike with his shield. Ding Su yells, "You've been beaten by me since we were kids." But Xiao Ji counters with a powerful punch of his own, slamming Ding Su hard into the ground. His mother and aunt rise in shock as Xiao Ji looks down at Ding Su and declares coldly, "I'm not the same person anymore." Meanwhile, inside the mirror world, Yunche continues battling the undead version of Binbin. The creature swings its blade furiously while Yunche narrowly dodges, realizing that this is Binbin's full power, and that the gap between them is massive. Yunche admits to himself that if it weren't for Binbin's defensive class, his own full strength might not have been enough to hold up. Moving behind Binbin, Yunche thinks to himself that all of Binbin's techniques were once taught by him, so he knows every weakness. A system window appears, displaying Binbin's status. Yunche internally acknowledges that Binbin possesses the defense level of a post, level 60 class transfer, and even his trick blade won't be very effective against such defense. Binbin roars, igniting flames across the area. Yunche immediately recognizes it as a legendary skill, Golden Light Barrier, and mutters that this is going to be troublesome. A massive blast follows. Back in the real world, Ding Su curses Xiao Ji and unleashes his combat skill Molten Mountain Chaotic. Xiao Ji blocks with his shield and strikes back, slamming Ding Su to the ground again and again. Ding Ji's face twists with anger as he shouts, demanding to know if Ding Su still can't defeat a mere Qiao brat. Transforming his hand into a claw, Ding Gu leaps toward Xiao Ji, promising Ding Su that his uncle will handle it. But as his attack nears, Xiao Ji's shield begins to glow a brilliant golden hue. Ding Ji's eyes widen in shock, realizing too late that it's the Golden Light Barrier, the same legendary skill. Xiao Ji stands inside the shining barrier with Ding Su in his grasp. He glares at Ding Gu and shouts, "Stay outside and watch." Then he mocks their so-called hero family, calling them cowards who never fight one-on-one. In the mirror world, Yunche strikes at Binbin's barrier from multiple directions, analyzing its structure. He notes that Golden Light Barrier is not just a skill tied to defense stats. It's a legendary ability that absorbs damage until its durability exceeds twice its tolerance. It can withstand at least 10 full-powered attacks. He keeps striking from every angle, realizing that while the barrier is strong, it is also consumable. Every bit of damage drains its energy, and once it's depleted, any 10 strikes will shatter it completely. Meanwhile, in the real world, Dinggu roars and smashes Xiao Zhi's Golden Light Barrier apart. He laughs mockingly, ridiculing Xiao Zhi for using such a skill and even insulting Binbin. Even when he used it, Dinggu sneers. He didn't matter. Xiao Zhi, holding the injured Ding Su by his collar, glares and shouts, "If my great-grandfather were here, all of you would be the ones kneeling before him." Ding Ji's expression hardens. He lets out a furious roar and unleashes his sound energy, pushing Xiao Zhi backward. Dinggu snarls, "Are you talking about that man who died in a low-level dungeon like this?" He slams his hand into the ground, using his technique Gravity Smash, splitting the earth apart. "Even if Binbin were here," he laughs cruelly, "he would still kneel before me." Debris erupts around them, striking Xiao Zhi hard. Dinggu steps forward, gripping his axe, and says menacingly, "Still acting tough? I wonder if you'll still stand after I take you down." He raises the axe high, ready to strike, but Xiao Zhi's mother suddenly steps between them, spreading her arms wide. She pleads tearfully, begging him to spare her son. "He's still young and ignorant," she cries. "Please, I'll kneel. Just don't hurt him." Ding Ji's lips curl into a wicked smile. "Then kneel, or I'll kill her right now," he says coldly. But then his tone shifts, mocking, cruel. "Actually, forget it." He swings his axe downward toward her. As Xiao Zhi tries to get up to shout something, a powerful shockwave bursts through the air. A thick, heavy smoke spreads across the area. Everyone, both Xiao family members and Ding family guards, freezes, eyes wide, trying to see who has appeared in front of them. Dinggu stops mid-step as realization strikes him. "No, it can't be," he mutters. "Binbin." Xiao Zhi's mother gasps and whispers in disbelief, "Grandfather." The Ding family ability users begin murmuring among themselves, questioning if Binbin has truly been resurrected, wondering aloud how someone dead could return. Xiao Zhi's aunt trembles, saying that Binbin's form looks more like that of an undead. Through the smoke, Yun Che steps forward, his aura radiating darkness and power. His voice echoes, "All of you looked down on me once, so I've come back from hell itself to take vengeance." The undead stands before everyone. Dinggu narrows his eyes and orders his men to capture it immediately. The Ding family's ability users charge at Binbin all at once. A system status window flashes before Yun Che's eyes. Binbin activates Iron Armor, Shield Armor, Guardian's Aura, and Group Shield simultaneously. The combined defensive skills form an impenetrable wall. The Ding family's attacks prove useless, their strikes bouncing off harmlessly as Binbin counters with devastating precision, knocking several of them down. Xiao Zhi's grandfather stares in disbelief, thinking to himself that this power, it could only belong to Binbin. Xiao Zhi watches with wide eyes, silently admiring Binbin's ability to block so many opponents at once. Meanwhile, Dinggu smirks and calls out to Yun Che. "So this is the undead you've summoned," he says mockingly. "I've already seen your little undead army at my house." He jumps toward Binbin, sneering, "Level 33? What trash." Binbin dodges his first attack easily. Dinggu activates his slime adhesion skill, lunging again, attacking rapidly in a flurry of strikes. Binbin blocks and counters each blow with powerful precision. Dinggu smirks wickedly, his right hand glowing crimson. He strikes forward, shattering Binbin's defenses, and shouts, "It's useless. This is true power." Just as he charges, Binbin raises his sword and releases the Golden Light Barrier, forcing Dinggu backward as the ground cracks beneath him. Yun Che steps forward, his eyes locked on Dinggu, and mutters that even as an undead, Binbin still holds S-class strength. He notes that the Golden Light Barrier alone could keep an enemy occupied for half a day. He then roars to his men, ordering them to attack the barrier to drain its energy, but no one moves. When he looks around, his expression darkens. His soldiers are all entangled, fighting against Yun Che's undead skeletons. Cursing, Dinggu summons his armor and grumbles that the situation has turned troublesome. He ignites his next skill, raging flames of fury, and scoffs. He's just a summoned creature anyway. Then, targeting Yunche, he activates Charge Pressure Punch, planning to strike down the summoner and dispel the undead in one move. He rushes forward, muttering that his grandfather's high-class treasures will make this easy. He lands his first blow, but as his fist connects, his smirk fades. Yunche stands completely unharmed. Shocked, Dingu immediately follows up with another technique, Rending Claw, but before he can hit, Yunche vanishes from sight. An instant later, Yunche reappears above him and strikes downward. Dingu grunts in pain. He roars, but Yunche retreats gracefully, avoiding the counterattack. Binbin steps forward, raising his massive sword to assist. Yunche lands on Binbin's blade, using it as a springboard to launch himself forward again, catching Dingu off guard. Dingu curses. Yunche dives in again, striking from multiple directions in a flurry of swift, precise attacks. Dingu screams in agony as one of his arms gets seriously injured. "Priest, heal me," he yells desperately. But Yunche keeps advancing. Dingu stomps the ground, creating a shockwave that breaks the ground beneath them. But Yunche simply shifts positions, appearing behind him with a smirk. "What's wrong?" Yunche taunts. "You look scared." Dingu, pale and trembling, yells at his priest again, only to realize no one is responding. He looks around and freezes in horror. All of his subordinates have been eliminated by the undead skeletons. Yunche stares at him coldly. "Do you still think my undead are as weak as the ones you saw at your mansion?" he asks. His smirk widens. After using Evil Spirit Possession, Reversal, and with a legendary buff from the Wandering Lord's drop, they're far beyond anything your guards could ever handle. Ding Gees is stunned to see this. He decides to retreat, but as he turns, Binbin's blade swings down, blocking his path. He darts the other way, but another sword blocks his path. Within seconds, Binbin's spectral blades surround him, trapping him completely. Yunche steps forward, his aura flaring with power. "The exclusive skill of the Sword Guard class," he says coldly, "is Sword Shield Absolute Formation, and no one below S class has ever escaped it. Let's see if you can." Panicked, Dingu summons a small black orb in his hand. "Don't come any closer," he shouts. "This is a void bomb, an S-class artifact my grandfather gave me. If it explodes, you'll die for sure." Yunche doesn't even flinch. "Then go ahead," he replies calmly. Dingu growls, "It'll kill you. I'll survive with my HP." Binbin steps forward. Yunche's tone hardens. "Even if he explodes, I'll just reawaken him again." Before Dingu can respond, Yunche suddenly appears behind him. "You can't even touch me," he says coldly, and strikes. Dingu screams as his other arm gets injured as well, and the artifact drops from his grasp, rolling across the ground. Yunche steps forward, his expression calm and commanding. "Kneel," he orders. Dingu, broken and trembling, collapses to his knees. Xiaoji watches the scene with a faint smile. Yunche steps closer. "Tell me," he says, "what value do you think you still have?" Yunche opens his item window and notes that he has accumulated a large number of miscellaneous materials, among them, hundreds of bottles of health potions. He summons one bottle, and a system window appears explaining that each potion restores 100 HP over 10 seconds. Yunche frowns, realizing that even if Binbin consumed all of them, it would only be a drop in the bucket compared to the damage he has taken. Binbin stands beside him, his body in terrible condition. Yunche calmly says, "You need to die." He recalls that when he killed Binbin before, his soul appeared in the mirror world, where he easily turned him into an undead ally. Yunche notes that his advanced undead army can be expanded through killing, and he decides to spare Ding Su for later use. Xiaoji's grandfather observes Yunche carefully, astonished that someone so young could possess such strength. His gaze shifts toward Xiaoji, who is hugging his mother tightly, and he thinks that Yunche must be the one guiding him, that his inner strength has grown because of him. Several Xiao family members approach Xiaoji's grandfather and uncle, asking what they should do now. His uncle responds anxiously, saying that with the death of 3 clan heads, the Ding family will surely retaliate. "We're doomed," he says gravely. "Even if Yunche is powerful, once the heroes make their move, it will all be over." He explains that these heroes had already defeated their grandfather decades ago and have only grown stronger since then. Yunche listens silently and agrees internally with Xiaoji's uncle. He understands that once this incident is discovered, he will have no time left to grow stronger. Determined, he resolves to reach the level where he can easily defeat Ding Kuan. A system notification pops up. Yunche wonders if one of his soldiers has leveled up. He realizes that sending his undead to grind separately is highly effective. With their current levels and upgraded gear, he thinks proudly that his army could walk sideways through this region without fear. However, he admits that this dungeon no longer provides enough experience to sustain his fast growth. This, he thinks, is another reason for sending his undead out to find the dungeon lord. He explains to himself that unlike a wandering lord, the dungeon lord serves as the true core of each dungeon. Once it is defeated, the entire dungeon collapses and vanishes. He recalls that the entrance to this dungeon is guarded by his teacher, and that when Ding Ge brought the Qiao family here, all the teachers must have seen them. If the Qiao family were to leave now, suspicion would arise immediately. Therefore, the only way to allow them to escape unnoticed is by completely clearing the dungeon and making it disappear amidst the chaos. Through this method, the Ding family won't be able to confirm Ding Ji's death, buying Yunche valuable time. Moments later, his undead army defeats the dungeon lord. The system window flashes, announcing that Yunche has leveled up and successfully cleared the dungeon. The dungeon begins to crumble and vanish. Xiaoji's uncle stares in shock. "The dungeon, it's disappearing," he exclaims. Yunche turns to them and says, "I've taken down the dungeon lord. The collapse will cause enough chaos that the Ding family won't immediately notice Ding Ji's death. Use this chance, escape now. You'll be safe for a while." He then instructs them firmly. "If the Ding family pursues you later, hand over any of their members directly to me." Yunche recalls his undead soldiers and checks the Mirror World status window. He notices that to upgrade Mirror World to level 3, he must defeat more dungeon lords. The previous upgrade had already provided a tremendous boost. Another would push him even closer to closing the gap between himself and Ding Kuan. At the entrance of a wealthy man's private dungeon, a guard hesitates and mutters to his comrade, "Do we really need to take this seriously? Who would dare trespass into a private dungeon?" He scratches his head, unaware that Yunche has already slipped past him effortlessly. The guard turns around, sensing movement, and mumbles, "Weird. I could have sworn someone was behind me." Convinced it's just his imagination, he returns to his post. Inside, Yunche smiles faintly. He notes that the civilian guards here are barely level 30. These private dungeons, he muses, are practically unguarded. He continues clearing dungeon after dungeon, slaying each dungeon lord with ease. After finishing another, he thinks it's almost time to take down Ding Kuan. But he forces himself to remain calm, choosing to defeat a few more dungeon lords first. Staying calm, he tells himself, means making fewer mistakes. With each victory, each dungeon cleared, and each level gained, Yunche disciplines himself to stay composed. Soon, rumors begin spreading across the region. Private dungeons are mysteriously being cleared one after another. Meanwhile, Yunche's mirror world skill accumulates vast amounts of EXP. Far away, Xiaoji's grandfather reads a news report about a mysterious dungeon destroyer, featuring an image of an undead. He wonders aloud if Yunche is responsible. With so many dungeons suddenly vanishing, he says, they'll eventually link it back to the one we escaped from. He realizes with wide eyes that Yunche must have done all this for their sake, so they could survive. Xiaoji's uncle comments that their current hideout is far from the Ding family estate and well concealed. Xiaoji's aunt adds that they've been cautious enough to remain completely undetected. Relieved, they agree that they no longer need to fear the Ding family. Just as Xiaoji's uncle sighs, saying perhaps they've finally escaped, the wall behind them suddenly shatters under a powerful force. Through the smoke and debris, a tall figure steps forward, Ding Hao, the second head of the Ding family. He repeats their very words with a cold smirk. "So," he says slowly, "you thought you could hide behind that criminal Yunche?" His expression darkens. "Even if you're not working with him, running from the Ding family, did you really underestimate the hero family?" He asks mockingly as he lands heavily on the ground. "You foolish traitors," he says, his voice echoing across the chamber. Yunche's location has already been discovered. Meanwhile, Yunche stands deep inside the hero dungeon, his level now 42. "I've come," he says quietly, for Ding Kun. He glances at his skill window. Mirror World, Level 3. Inside the hero's dungeon, Yun Che stands silently, deep in thought. All the private dungeons he previously cleared were around level 30, and continuing there had become far too inefficient. He notes that higher-level dungeons, such as the hero's dungeons, are state-controlled, heavily guarded by the military, and sealed off within a 2-kilometer radius. He realizes that even with his mirror world ability, allowing him to explore a 200-meter radius per entry, there's no way to infiltrate such dungeons unnoticed. For now, he decides he must rely on Yunsha. Yunsha crosses her arms and asks, "So, the reason you called me here, is it because you want me to take you inside?" She adds that she's unsure how much he knows about her identity, but even she can't enter without a valid pass. Yunche smirks and shows her 2 temporary passes. Yunsha picks one up, raising a brow. "You really came prepared," she says. She points out that these passes require an accompanying person for verification. Otherwise, they'll fail inspection. "Why?" she asks. "Do you want to enter this dungeon without involving your family?" Yunche replies calmly. "In the traitor's realm, you saw Binbin's condition yourself. He wasn't the monster propaganda made him out to be. That means something about the old rebellion isn't right. I want to uncover the truth and help Xiao Ji's family." Yunsha narrows her eyes, clearly unconvinced. "You're not even related to the Qiao family, yet you're risking everything to offend the heroes for their sake. Not to mention, you've already infiltrated your own family's mansion once." She leans forward. "You can somehow see what happened to Binbin in the past, can't you? That's why you stole the pass." She recalls, Dingu entered the traitor's dungeon just to punish Xiao Ji and you. But after the dungeon vanished, no one ever found him. Don't tell me you're planning to confront the heroes. You clearly harbor hostility toward them. Stepping closer, she studies his face. "Tell me," she asks, "are you related to the traitor Yunche from back then?" "You share both names." Yunche chuckles. "Your name also includes Yun. Does that mean you're related to that traitor too?" She frowns. "Don't compare. My surname isn't Yun. I changed it to avoid unnecessary trouble." Yunche smirks. "Interesting. So you already knew my real surname was Yun." Yunsha's expression turns sharp. "Aren't you afraid I'll report you?" she asks coldly. "If I turn you into the army, you'll be as good as dead." After a brief silence, Yunche says confidently, "You won't." Startled, Yunsha looks at him. He continues, "You risked your life in the dungeon to save those students. You're not someone who'd side with the Ding family." He then hands her a worn diary, the same one he stole from the Ding estate. Inside, records describe the atrocities committed by the so-called hero Ding Kuen's descendants. Yunsha flips through it, but shakes her head. "I don't care about this. Haven't you ever been betrayed?" Yunche's expression turns distant. "What if I haven't?" he replies quietly. "That doesn't mean I can't trust others." He steps closer. "I believe your true nature isn't evil, Yunsha." Her eyes flicker, uneasy. He really doesn't seem like a good person, she thinks. She turns away abruptly. "If you trust me that much," she says, "then follow me. You'll see for yourself how I betray." Yunche smiles faintly and follows her. Yunsha walks ahead, her thoughts racing. "I never expected anyone to actually trust me," she admits silently. They finally reach the entrance of the hero's dungeon. A station guard greets Yunsha warmly. "Miss Yunsha, the heroes have been waiting for you for days," he says respectfully. "You already have permission to enter." His tone then grows serious. "But why didn't you come with Ding Dan? He just entered moments ago. And is that hooded person your guard?" He continues, "Ding Dan warned us to be cautious. The family reported that their temporary pass was stolen." Yunsha raises an eyebrow. "Are you interrogating me now?" The guard quickly waves his hands. "No, ma'am. It's just that the security bureau warned us. The criminal raiding dungeons may be headed here." Yunsha smirks and glances back at Yunche. The guard insists nervously, "We're only doing this for your safety. Your escort might be replaced for verification." Yunsha laughs lightly and turns toward Yunche. "Looks like they want to check on you," she says teasingly. As the guard approaches, Yunche tenses. Yunsha suddenly grabs his face, holding it up for the guard to see. "Do you think I can't recognize my own guard?" she asks sharply. "Should we check me too? Maybe I've been swapped out as well." The guards freeze, terrified. "We wouldn't dare," one shouts. "If you're certain, then there's no mistake. You may enter, Miss Yunsha." With that, Yunsha and Yunche pass through the gates and enter the dungeon. As they walk, Yin Che thinks to himself that Yun Sha's status is far higher than he expected. I brought you in because you trusted me, she says. Whatever you plan to do inside, I don't care. But don't expect my help beyond this. Yin Che nods. Thank you, he says sincerely, summoning an undead wrapped in a dark cloak. Take this with you when you leave. It'll protect you and keep suspicion off you. Yun Sha glances at the creature, sighs, and mutters, At least you've got some conscience. As she leaves, Yin Che steps deeper into the dungeon. Activating his ability, he enters the mirror world once more. A faint smile crosses his face. Finally, he murmurs, I can use the new ability unlocked when Mirror World reached level 3. Yun Che notices that his Mirror World has reached level 3, and he sees that all the monsters have stopped moving the moment he stepped inside. Yun Che thinks to himself that he can now copy Secret Realm monsters from the real world, and from this point onward, he can freely explore and discover new creatures within the Mirror World without worrying about being exposed or monitored. Even more importantly, he realizes that the undead he leaves inside can continue to grow stronger for him, even after he exits the realm. Yin Che then considers the idea of building a city inside the secret realm so he can investigate it more thoroughly over time. According to the Ding family's diary, this is the location where Ding Kuan is said to be. Yin Che knows far too little about Ding Kuan, only that he reached S-Rank decades ago and has not shown his true strength publicly since then. Even Ding Lao Sen has no deeper information. If Yin Che had more detailed knowledge, he would feel much more confident dealing with him. In Yin Che's previous life, he was familiar with everyone who had reached S-Rank, but Ding Kuan suddenly appeared without warning. Yin Che asks Ben Ben, thinking of the mysterious and powerful Ding Kuan. But Ben Ben does not answer. He is still asleep. When Yin Che's mirror power reached level 3, his undead companions became a little smarter. Ben Ben changed the most, but still not enough to speak. Yin Che believes that if his mirror power continues to grow, Ben Ben will finally wake up. Meanwhile, in a palace, an old man with gray hair kneels down. He is speaking to the emperor, Ding Shun. Father, you love your third son the most. You have to help find him, the old man cries. Ding Shun looks furious. My third son is still missing? The security report says he was taken near the hero's secret realm. The old man nods quickly. The person who took him must be very strong, maybe even S-Rank. For safety, please, Father, you must act. We need the transfer certificate. Suddenly, Ding Shin moves with incredible speed and strikes the old man, who collapses. Ding Shin speaks to the empty room, calling him useless for failing to protect one boy. He notes that the man had just reached S level, but could not withstand even one blow. He mutters that he only kept the man alive to guard his grandson, and now he must correct the mistake. Losing his third son would mean losing several years of his own life. And with that heavy thought lingering, the scene shifts to the village where Ding Yin is causing chaos among the residents. Meanwhile, Yin Che notices the disturbance and reflects that, compared to this place, the Ding family outside the secret realm appears far more restrained. Yin Che considers stepping forward to help the villagers, but doing so would require revealing his identity, something he is not yet prepared to risk. However, Yin Che soon sees that Ben Ben is also furious at the situation, and he observes how, even in such a stressful condition, Ben Ben still rushes forward to help those in need. This makes Yin Che recall a memory from the disaster zone. Among all the children there, Ben Ben and Lan Xian were the kindest and strongest. That was the reason Yin Che accepted Ben Ben as his disciple and trained him, hoping he would grow into someone capable of protecting others. Yet in the end, Yin Che feels it was his own fault that Ben Ben ended up in his current state. Suddenly, Ben Ben speaks Lan Xian's name. Yin Che is surprised and asks if Ben Ben has regained his memories, but Ben Ben instead angrily tells Yin Che that Lan Xian is actually Ding Kuan. Yin Che is stunned by this revelation. The scene then shifts to Ding Kuan, who has just defeated an opponent. The defeated individual mentions Yin Che's name, and upon hearing it, Ding Kuan responds with suspicion. He wonders if someone is trying to provoke him by using a familiar name, as he never expected to hear it again after so many years. With a confident smirk, Ding Kuan steps forward and declares that he will personally see who dares to impersonate Yin Che, his respected master. The scene shifts to Ding Yin, who angrily orders the orcs to attack the village. As the orcs charge forward, prepared to strike, Yunche rushes ahead with incredible speed and, in an instant, defeats most of them with a single, controlled blow. Filled with frustration and confusion, Yunche wonders how Lan Qian could possibly be the same person as Ding Kuan. He struggles to accept this truth, unable to reconcile the identities in his mind. Meanwhile, Ding Yin is stunned by Yunche's display of strength and immediately begins to question his identity. His subordinate, Nene, declares that the intruder must be an outsider and boldly claims that Yunche has a lot of courage to trespass within a hero's territory. But Yunche, still overwhelmed with disbelief, focuses only on the thought of Lan Qian and Ding Kuan being the same person. Yunche recalls a moment from the past, a time when he explained to his disciples, Bin and Lan Qian, that due to the extraordinary power of modern professionals, the age of traditional knights had long passed. Yet, as a descendant of knights, Yunche wished to pass down the values he believed mattered most. Under his guidance, he told them, their strength would one day surpass that of ordinary professionals. But if they wished to continue learning from him, they must remember several important principles. The first principle was humility. Yunche taught them that there is no fundamental difference between themselves and others, and that they must remain polite and respectful to everyone they encounter. Returning to the present, Yunche breaks through Nene's barrier with ease. Ding Yin, shocked by Yunche's power, calls for his subordinate to use their level 30 legendary equipment. With great confidence, Ding Yin declares he will show Yunche what the strength of a higher-level opponent truly feels like. Another memory surfaces, Yunche explaining the second principle, always show mercy. Treat the weak with kindness, protect those who cannot defend themselves, and approach wrongdoing with compassion rather than cruelty. Back in the present, Yunche quickly appears in front of Ding Yin and strikes him, only to discover it was an illusion. Multiple copies of Ding Yin suddenly fill the area, and Ding Yin mocks him, claiming that if Yunche enjoyed defeating illusions, there were plenty more waiting for him. With a confident smile, Ding Yin challenges Yunche to try attacking them again. At that moment, Yunche activates his mirror world skill. With this enhanced perception, he instantly pinpoints the real Ding Yan's location. Yunche charges forward and strikes both Ding Yin and his subordinate accurately. Stunned, Ding Yin wonders how Yunche managed to see through his illusion technique so easily. Another memory appears, Yunche teaching his disciples the third principle, be brave, fearless, and decisive. When battling within secret realms, there must be no room for cowardice. They must always stand firm and fight for justice. The scene returns to the present, where Ding Yin is overwhelmed by Yunche's strength. He orders his subordinate to confront Yunche directly and stall him long enough for Ding Yin to escape. Panicked, Ding Yin runs away, saying his grandfather will be furious if anything happens to him. His subordinate attempts to cast every spell he knows at once, but to his shock, Yunche suddenly disappears from in front of him. Confused, he looks around, trying to locate Yunche, only for Yunche to appear behind him and land a precise strike, swiftly defeating him. Bin then captures Ding Yin and brings him before Yunche. Ding Yin shouts desperately, demanding that Bin release him, claiming he is the grandson of a hero and warning that there will be consequences if anything happens to him. Yunche recalls the fourth principle, always be honest. With steady determination, Yunche then subdues Ding Yin and his subordinate. But despite their defeat, Yunche is filled with emotional turmoil. He thinks about how Lan Qian ignored everything he had taught, betrayed both Bin and himself, and even allowed his descendants to commit countless misdeeds. Overwhelmed with anger, Yunche cries out, demanding to know why. At that moment, Ding Kuan appears behind Yunche and lands a powerful strike, sending Yunche crashing into a wall. Although injured, Yunche quickly heals himself and confronts Ding Kuan, asking why he betrayed him. Ding Kuan steps forward, but Yunche wastes no time. He uses his mirror technique again, disappearing and reappearing at his side. Despite Ding Kuan realizing Yunche is relying on a mirror-based skill, Yunche breaks through and lands a forceful strike, shouting once more and demanding to know the reason for the betrayal. Yunche's strike lands with immense force, powerful enough to crack and break Ding Kuan's armor. Seeing the damage, Ding Kuan smirks and remarks that not only has Yunche shattered his armor, but his speed and attack power are far from ordinary. Realizing that this person in front of him truly is Lan Qian, Yunshe urgently asks why he chose to betray him. Hearing his old name, Ding Kuan's expression changes. He shouts that Yunshe not only remembers his former identity, but also keeps repeating the name of his master. Charging forward with fierce momentum, Ding Kuan demands to know whether the old man sent Yunshe to confront him. As Ding Kuan unleashes a strike, Yunshe swiftly dodges and moves behind him. With a mocking smile, Ding Kuan questions why Yunshe is pretending to be his master. Angered, Yunshe attacks again, shouting and demanding to know why Ding Kuan betrayed him. Ding Kuan blocks the strike and declares that there is no point in talking any further. He prepares another powerful attack, but before his blow can land, Ben Ben steps forward, using his sword and shield technique to block it effortlessly. Furious, Ben Ben charges at Ding Kuan, yet Ding Kuan overpowers him and knocks him to the ground. Shocked, Ding Kuan shouts in disbelief, asking how Ben Ben is still alive. Looking closer, he realizes the truth. Ben Ben's state resembles necromancy. Although it can be considered a form of resurrection, Ding Kuan notes that it seems to leave little room for intelligence or awareness. Yunshe appears behind Ding Kuan once again, prepared to strike. At that moment, Ding Kuan's descendants, Ding Sun, Ding Chong, and Ding Jian, step forward. They confidently tell Ding Kuan that he did not need to come himself, claiming they could have handled the intruders on their own. In response, Yunshe summons his own forces and instructs them to take care of Ding Kuan's descendants. Meanwhile, Ding Kuan spots Sunwazi and realizes that he has died. Filled with fury, Ding Kuan declares that Yunshe's abilities are becoming more interesting. When he finally understands that Yunshe truly is his former master, Ding Kuan charges forward recklessly, striking at him and demanding that Yunshe quickly prove his identity. Ding Kuan insists that if Yunshe is really his master, then he will answer every question, hiding nothing. Yunshe responds by reminding him that even back in the disaster zone, Ding Kuan always tried to help others. Frustrated, Yunshe attacks again, asking how everything could have gone so wrong. Ding Kuan smiles darkly and claims that it was all because of Yunshe. Confused and angered, Yunshe counters that he helped Ding Kuan escape the disaster zone, guided him as a mentor, supported him in becoming a powerful professional, and taught him everything he knew. But Ding Kuan, trembling with rage, shouts back, why did Yunshe come to save him so late? Why only after Ding Kuan suffered so much? And why was Ben Ben, just the son of a knight, able to live so comfortably as Yunshe's disciple? Ding Kuan demands to know why Ben Ben, who went through far less hardship, received such polite treatment from everyone. Why was Ben Ben always seen as being above him in everything? Why did Yunshe favor Ben Ben so much? Ding Kuan continues angrily, accusing Yunshe of forcing him to become a berserker because he was timid, when he should have become a sword guard with better defense. Yunshe firmly responds, asking when he ever favored anyone. Did Ding Kuan not always express that he wanted to become braver and stronger? Frustrated, Ding Kuan shouts that he only acted brave because he thought Yunshe preferred that kind of person, someone like Ben Ben. He claims he tried just as hard to appear courageous, yet Yunshe never started favoring him. Deep down, Ding Kuan believes Yunshe always looked down on him. Ding Kuan tells Yunshe to stop pretending, saying pity and humility do not help someone survive. In this world, treatment depends on status and power. He insists he is not like Ben Ben, who, in his eyes, was influenced by Yunshe's values and wasted precious time that could have been used to gain levels or save people. And if Yunshe calls this betrayal, Ding Kuan responds that Yunshe can choose Ben Ben, just as Ding Kuan is free to choose others. He adds that Luo Wei, Yunshe's sworn brother, offered him greater power and higher status. Ding Kuan challenges Yunshe to compare the lives of Ben Ben's descendants with his own, and to compare Yunshe's current position with Luo Wei's. Ding Kuan demands an answer. Whose choice was the correct one? Filled with overwhelming rage, Yunshe unleashes his full strength. He attacks from multiple directions using his mirror world technique, and once again he breaks through Ding Kuan's armor. With fierce determination, Yunshe declares that Ding Kuan is nothing compared to Ben Ben. Hearing Yunshe's words, Ding Kuan activates his berserker skill. His attack power surges to an incredible 300%, and his speed increases to 200%. The lower his health falls, the more his power and speed rise exponentially. Smirking confidently, Ding Kuan declares that Yun Che has finally admitted that he favored Ben Ben over him. Ding Kuan then charges forward with astonishing speed, aiming a devastating strike at Yun Che. However, Yun Che immediately summons his mirror world ability, slipping out of the attack's path with masterful precision. Seeing this, Ding Kuan scoffs and claims that Yun Che simply uses these mirrors to travel and evade danger. Without them, he says, Yun Che would have nowhere to hide. Ding Kuan's berserker skill intensifies further, his energy becoming more unstable and dangerous. He shouts for Yun Che to confront him directly, reminding him that knights are supposed to be brave. Ding Kuan's power reaches its peak, and as he steps forward, he insists that he was right all along. Yun Che only speaks of virtue when he is safe. Ding Kuan calls him a sheltered, noble child who hasn't experienced true suffering, claiming Yun Che cannot understand his pain, yet still dares to talk about compassion. When Ding Kuan strikes again, Yun Che barely manages to dodge. Ding Kuan mocks him, saying Yun Che is indulging in self-deception, thinking friends and disciples will always support him, calling such faith laughably naive. With a sudden burst of speed, Ding Kuan lands a heavy blow on Yun Che, sending him crashing into a wall. The impact leaves Yun Che severely injured. As Yun Che forces himself to stand, Ding Kuan tells him to look at his own condition. This is what Yun Che is without his mirrors. He steps closer and states that he will not attack for now, because Yun Che can barely survive under the constant strain of Ding Kuan's berserker aura. Frustrated, Yun Che strikes at him, but Ding Kuan blocks effortlessly, commenting that Yun Che never used to be this weak. With a chilling smile, Ding Kuan explains that this is the price Yun Che pays for being naive. He even tells Yun Che he should feel grateful, because betrayal is what forces a person to grow. He adds that falling from a peak to the ordinary world must be unbearable, especially knowing that Luo Wei became the supreme king while Yun Che was branded a traitor. Ding Kuan then launches another heavy attack, sending Yun Che flying into another wall. Ding Kuan laughs bitterly and asks if Yun Che isn't jealous. Despite barely enduring the blow, Yun Che struggles back to his feet, gravely wounded. Ding Kuan observes him coldly and states that Yun Che's health is nearly depleted. With a smirk, he offers Yun Che a condition for survival: admit he was wrong, beg for mercy, and hand over the secret of necromancy. Only then, Ding Kuan claims, will he spare him. At that moment, Yun Che rises steadily and draws a new dagger, the weapon known as Nether. Yun Che calmly states that he truly was wrong. Wrong to rescue Ding Kuan from the disaster zone, wrong to trust him, wrong to believe that leading by example could guide hearts, and wrong to assume that people would not turn down a dark path. As he speaks, Yun Che's wounds suddenly vanish, his health is fully restored, and his status returns to its peak. Ding Kuan is stunned. Yun Che continues, saying he was also wrong to cling too stubbornly to knightly virtues. He then activates two newly learned skills, transforming completely. In an instant, he appears directly in front of Ding Kuan and unleashes a flurry of strikes from multiple angles. Ding Kuan manages to block several attacks, but only barely. Swinging his sword, Ding Kuan smirks and comments that this is how a real fight should be. He counters with his own attack, claiming that he once believed his master had learned dual-wield specialization, but now sees Yun Che is simply holding two swords. Ding Kuan mocks him, saying that using unfamiliar combat styles in real battles is unwise. As Ding Kuan swings his blade again, Yun Che disappears momentarily and reappears behind him, landing a clean strike that injures Ding Kuan. When Ding Kuan retaliates, Yun Che activates Mirror World once more and vanishes. Ding Kuan is shocked. He believed all the mirrors had been destroyed. In response, Ding Kuan unleashes the full magnitude of his berserker skill, laughing wildly as he realizes Yun Che has found a loophole. But Ding Kuan boasts that once Berserker's final stage is activated, Yun Che has no chance of victory, especially now that no reflective surfaces remain. At that moment, Ben Ben suddenly appears and strikes Ding Kuan with a critical blow. Ding Kuan is stunned to see Ben Ben standing behind him. Immediately afterward, Yun Che summons his undead soldiers, and they surround Ding Kuan from every direction. Enraged and resolute, Yun Che declares that this is the end for Ding Kuan. With a single, devastating strike, Ding Kun manages to take down Ben Ben. Smirking confidently, he declares that the loser from 60 years ago could never hope to match his current strength. He adds that the more severely he is wounded, the stronger he becomes, a testament to the raw power of the Berserker class. However, Yunshe steps forward calmly and lands a precise strike on Ding Kun, stating that he can see through all of Ding Kun's flaws. As a Berserker, Ding Kun possesses two major weaknesses. The first is his low defense. The Berserker class relies heavily on high attack and speed, meaning that Ding Kun cannot allocate many points to defensive stats. On top of this, many of his own skills further reduce his defenses, making him vulnerable even to the weakest of Yunshe's summoned minions. Recognizing the threat, Ding Kun activates a skill called Whirlwind, intending to eliminate the low-level undead first. But Yunshe intercepts him, explaining that his second weakness lies in the type of attacks he possesses. Most of Ding Kun's offensive skills are area-based, but aside from Whirlwind, he primarily relies on linear, direct strikes. Meanwhile, Yunshe's mana recovery is sufficient to maintain a steady number of undead soldiers, forcing Ding Kun to deal with them first. Confidently, Ding Kun retorts that he does, in fact, have long-range attacks. But before he can execute one, Yunshe readies a new strike, commenting that Ding Kun's greatest flaw is not his skills or strength. It is that he has no one to truly rely on. Back in the disaster zone, Ding Kun and Ben Ben had covered each other's weaknesses. Now, the very shield that once protected Ding Kun has become the sword striking him. As someone who rose to power through betrayal, Yunshe doubts that anyone would remain close to him willingly. Yunshe then positions himself behind Ding Kun, questioning if this is truly what Ding Kun desires. Before Yunshe can strike, Ding Kun swings his sword, but Yunshe dodges effortlessly. Ding Kun scoffs, accusing Yunshe of still speaking about friendship and dependence. He proclaims that he needs no comrades. His children and grandchildren will fight for him. Calling them out, the trio rushes forward to aid their grandfather. Ding Kun remarks with pride that he requires no allies, for his descendants will carry the battle for him. But just as he speaks, Yunshe strikes from behind, landing a precise blow that injures Ding Kun's right arm. Ding Kun's children are shocked and cry out, witnessing their grandfather in pain. Yet, despite their loyalty, they hesitate. One of them admits that even if Ding Kun cannot defeat Yunshe, what chance do they truly have? Enraged, Ding Kun lashes out at his children, grabbing one and shouting that everything they possess exists because of him, and he will not tolerate defiance. At that moment, Yunshe summons his undead soldiers, who surround Ding Kun and his family. They strike simultaneously, creating a massive explosion. When the dust clears, Ding Kun finds himself standing alone, confused and horrified. Yunshe has turned his children and grandchildren into undead under his command. With no options left, Ding Kun attempts to flee, but Yunshe catches him in an instant, declaring that there is nowhere left to run. The undead charge forward, overwhelming Ding Kun. Finally, Yunshe defeats Ding Kun decisively. The scene shifts back 60 years, where Yunshe proudly tells Lan Xian and Ben Ben that both of them have successfully completed their class changes and reached S-Rank. As their master, Yunshe feels it is only right to reward them for their hard work and dedication. He explains that he has sent all the top-tier materials he had painstakingly collected over the years to the Divine Craftsman. By a stroke of extraordinary luck, these materials were forged into a mythic-grade weapon, the highest quality equipment available to someone at their current level. Lan Xian's eyes widen in excitement as Yunshe presents the weapon. Yunshe explains that the greatsword perfectly matches Lan Xian's fighting style, and he will have no trouble mastering it. With anticipation, Lan Xian swings the sword, testing its weight and balance, and thanks Yunshe warmly. Meanwhile, Ben Ben receives a matching axe and shield, perfectly suited to his new class. With his exceptional combat talent, Yunshe notes, Ben Ben will master them in no time. Holding the shield, Ben Ben comments that Yunshe must have considerable wealth to provide such top-tier equipment. Observing Lan Xian staring at Ben Ben, Yunshe curiously asks what is happening. Lan Xian replies that he has not replaced his weapon and wonders if it might be outdated. Yunshe smiles and responds that this sword is his alone and will never be replaced. He reveals that its name is the Flowing Cloud Sword, a weapon born from years of effort, collecting rare treasures from secret realms, sneaking into an SSS-level secret realm, and forging it in the ancient furnace. At that time, the sword was only in its embryonic form. Yin Shay explains the ranking system for weapons. At the top is unique, followed by mythic, legendary, epic, rare, excellent, and finally common. As a unique grade weapon, the Flowing Cloud Sword possesses a special sharpening method. It moves like flowing clouds, endlessly changing and adapting into any desired form. Complete synchronization with its user is required for it to reach its full potential. Having endured countless near-death battles, the sword now responds instinctively to Yun Shay, adapting seamlessly to his power fluctuations. Lan Xian is awestruck, amazed by the sword's fluidity and strength. Yun Shay then asks if Lan Xian would like to wield it, and Lan Xian eagerly accepts. But history takes a dark turn. Lan Xian ultimately betrays Yun Shay and kills him, a sinister smirk on his face as he claims the unique grade weapon as his own. The scene returns to the present. Yun Shay looks at the sword with a mixture of nostalgia and resolve. He steps forward, reflecting that during his time on the front lines of the secret realm, no matter how difficult the road became, he never retreated and always overcame hardship. Grasping the sword, Yun Shay laments that he could have lived peacefully with his greatest weapon had it not been for Lan Xian's greed. He declares that the so-called title of hero now holds no meaning for him. Injured, Ding Kuan attempts to apologize to Yun Shay, but Yun Shay coldly responds that in Ding Kuan's hands, the Flowing Cloud Sword is nothing more than a simple weapon. Ding Kuan had betrayed Yun Shay solely for the sword and had also turned against Ben Ben. With a single decisive strike, Yun Shay defeats Ding Kuan. The scene shifts again. Yun Shay sits on Ding Kuan's throne, having turned him into an undead servant. Ding Kuan bows before him, and Yun Shay silently reflects that his path of revenge has only just begun. To continue this journey, he must grow stronger. Yun Shay contemplates the restrictions of the secret realm. Ordinary people today can reach roughly level 30 in their lifetime. Even those with exceptional talent who enter official organizations and rise through the ranks can only reach about level 60. This is because level 60 represents a massive threshold. Once someone completes a class transfer under specific conditions, they can evolve further, unlocking higher-tier equipment and exclusive skills. Class transfers require a class transfer certificate, an incredibly rare item. Even when secret realms were open to all in Yun Shay's previous life, only 1 in 10,000 could transfer classes. In this current era, the certificate is tightly controlled by the government. Within the entire hero family, only Lan Xian possesses one. None of his descendants have ever transferred classes. The difference before and after a class transfer is immense, almost like the difference between heaven and earth. Lan Xian, for example, changed from a warrior to a berserker, learning exclusive skills and increasing his power several-fold. If Yun Shay had not possessed the mirror world, he could never have defeated Lan Xian. Yun Shay contemplates the possibilities. With the mirror world and a class transfer, how much stronger could he become? At that moment, a system window appears, scanning transferable classes. Among them are Battle Dancer and a few others. Yun Shay considers carefully, thinking to himself that his choice has long been determined. Among the rare chanting classes capable of successful transfer, only one offers the offensive skills he desires. Resolute, he selects Battle Dancer. Immediately, another window appears, inquiring whether Yun Shay would like to reverse the Battle Dancer class. Surprised, Yun Shay realizes that the class can indeed be reversed, offering him further strategic possibilities for the battles to come. From the basic set of 8 professions, such as priests, warriors, and several others, multiple branches of advanced professions can be developed over time. Different advanced professions have their own unique specialties and strengths, but there are always exceptions, because there are many hidden advanced professions that are far more difficult to unlock. Generally, the higher the requirements, the stronger the profession becomes after advancement. For example, in order to advance into the Battle Dancer profession, one must, quite counterintuitively, raise speed to above 55, while spirit must be above 65, which is generally impossible for a typical caster who focuses on extreme stat allocation in other areas. Another advancement requirement is a monster core, which is a crystal that needs to be filled with energy. However, Using it is far too difficult for a caster without strong attack abilities, so only a very small number of people can successfully advance. Now, the Battle Dancer profession has undergone a reversal enhancement in the mirror world, and the advancement quest requirements have also been reversed and multiplied. The profession is now named Peace Dancer, and the advancement requirement is 5 life nurseries. Seeing this, Yun-Che states that the requirement is a bit too exaggerated. Yun-Che wonders what exactly the benchmark is for the mirror reversal, and he believes that the reversed requirement should at least be on the same level as the monster core, which is a treasure that continuously produces potions capable of fully restoring HP. Yun-Che thinks to himself that each life nursery could be fiercely sought after by many professionals, and with just one of them, a team might not even need a healing position anymore. Yet Yun-Che needs 5 of them just to advance. Yun-Che then stands up, realizing that with such high requirements, this profession must become absurdly strong after advancement. As Yun-Che enters the mirror world, he originally thought that mirror skill upgrades would slowly unlock and gradually improve the mirror world, but it seems that it is not that simple. Then we see an orc chief inside the mirror world. After level 3, the mirror world contains not only ordinary monsters, but also secret realm lords, replicas, and many souls, which now seem far more numerous than initially seen. Plus, even profession advancement can be reversed, and each level's functions can be further explored and developed further. As Yun-Che enters the mirror world and faces the orc chief, Yun-Che thinks to himself that for now, the priority is on advancement that can quickly increase his power. Then Ding Kuan comes in and tells Yun-Che that it is time to leave. Then, with a single strike, Yun-Che defeats the orc chief, levels up as well, and acquires legendary equipment called the Great Fong Necklace. Yun-Che clears the secret realm by defeating the Lord Chief. Yun-Che is now at level 50, and all his other stats have increased as well. Then we come to the outside, where the secret realm dissipates. The heroes gathered there are stunned to see this and wonder what is going on and how the secret realm disappeared, since they were never allowed to enter. Everyone realizes that the hero family might be in danger and rushes to check the situation. As the heroes enter, they are shocked to see that Ding Jian has been taken down. Instantly, the news spreads around the world that the hero family has been defeated and no suspect has been found. Kaio's parents are stunned to hear this news, as they cannot believe that Yun-Che defeated Dong. Then the scene shifts to a soldier captain, who shows his subordinates a picture of the culprit and tells them that it is their duty to capture him, encouraging his subordinates to do their best. Then the scene shifts to a man sitting on a throne. It is the Supreme King, Luo Wei, and Luo Wei is stunned to hear that Xiao Lanqian is dead. One of Luo Wei's subordinates reports that soldiers were deployed outside, yet they only learned what happened afterward. Luo Wei then inquires about what they found. The subordinate replies that none of the officers who were guarding Ding Kuan know what actually happened, and that he also checked the entry and exit records thoroughly. In addition, he retrieved information from the Public Security Department. At present, the most obvious suspects are Yun-Sha and Yun-Che. The subordinate smiles slightly and tells Luo Wei that Yun-Che is truly a name that brings back old memories, and he confidently states that he will personally handle the matter. Then the scene shifts to the academy, where everyone is talking about the secret hero realm incident, and they cannot understand who could be bold enough to challenge the heroes in such a way. Meanwhile, as Yun-Sha walks through the academy, she hears the students discussing the situation. Yun-Sha thinks to herself that Yun-Che actually defeated King Kuan directly. Yun-Sha realizes that she was an accomplice who helped Yun-Che enter the secret hero realm. Yun-Sha wonders whether she should report what happened, but she also thinks that after doing something like this, she and Yun-Che may never meet again in this lifetime. However, to her shock, she suddenly sees Yun-Che standing right in front of her. Then the scene shifts to a few moments earlier, where Yun-Che inquires with Ding Kuan about life nurseries. Ding Kuan replies that he has never heard of such a thing. Yun-Che thinks to himself that the life nursery advancement requirements are far too precious, and that probably only high-ranking individuals would possess them. Now, speaking of high-ranking individuals, there is only Yun-Sha, who is obviously very noble. Then Yun-Che inquires of Ding Kuan whether he knows about Yun-Sha's identity, since Ding Kuan seemed very eager to meet her before. Ding Kuan replies that Yun-Sha is Luo Wei's granddaughter. Hearing this, Yun-Che immediately heads to the academy, because Yun-Che never expected that Yun-Sha would be Luo Wei's granddaughter. Yun-Sha is shocked to see Yun-Che at the school. The other students become happy when they see Yun-Che on campus and quickly rush over to meet him. The students inquire whether Yun-Che became tired after fighting the Wandering Lord, which is why he took a few days off. The students then thank Yun-Che, saying that because of him, they were able to survive against the Wandering Lord, and they have now realized just how strong Yun-Che truly is. At that time, the students had already lost hope, but now that Yun-Che has finally returned to school, they feel that they must properly thank him. The school also plans to reward Yun-Che for his efforts as well. However, one of the students then states that now that Yun-Che is back at school, the Ding family might come looking for him. The three heads of the Ding family somehow seem to have disappeared in that heroic secret realm. The Ding family had been searching everywhere before, but it should not be too worrying. After all, the culprit is obviously the so-called secret realm destroyer mentioned in previous newspapers, and even heroes were defeated there. Although Yun-Che is powerful, people would not think that Yun-Che could defeat a hero. Yun-Che, who is actually the secret realm destroyer, remains silent. Yun-Che thinks to himself that the Ding family only knew by voice that Yun-Che had broken into their house to steal the pass, and there is no solid evidence, so only the Ding family should truly suspect him. Then one of the students further tells Yun-Che that he heard the secret realm destroyer is being chased by the peacekeepers, and that the culprit should be caught soon, so Yun-Che can relax. Yun-Che smiles and thinks to himself that he really does not want to be caught by the peacekeepers. The so-called peacekeeper forces are extremely strict, patrolling all over the streets, each squad possessing extraordinary strength. On top of that, everyone can report suspicious activity using devices called phones. If it were not for the undead confusing their search and helping Yun-Che slip away, Yun-Che probably could not have returned here safely. Now that he is surrounded by students, Yun-Che just needs to pretend to be his usual self, making it difficult for anyone to suspect him. Most importantly, at school, Yun-Che can quietly learn about this era without drawing attention to himself. Then one student states that in the end, it is actually all the secret realm destroyer's fault. If not for that person, Yun-Che and the other students would not have been suspected at all. Since even heroes were taken down, the students become angry and say that such a person must be truly wicked. Hearing this, Yun-Che thinks to himself that hero Ding Kuan, whom the students had known since childhood, was promoted by Luo Wei. Even if Yun-Che was responsible for Ding Kuan's fall, the students' views would not easily change. Then one student remarks that he read that the hero was actually not like how the books described him, and many people say that they heard similar things as well. At that moment, one student explains that he has a video. Meanwhile, Yun-Che is stunned to see the students reacting like this, because someone secretly recorded the moment when the hero's secret realm dissipated. The people inside were injured, and apparently they had long been controlled by the Ding family. The students are shocked when they see this footage. Meanwhile, Yun-Che wonders whether things might finally begin to change. But then one student questions where that person even got the video, asking how it could be recorded when the area was guarded by the army. Hearing this, most of the students agree that the video must be fake, believing that someone with hidden motives is deliberately trying to damage the image of the heroes. At that moment, Yun-Sha arrives and states that this video is, of course, real, because she was recently invited to visit the hero's secret realm herself. She explains that the video only shows a very small part of what truly happened, and that it is not a secret even among the upper class. Hearing that Yun-Sha also agrees that the video is real, the students begin to think that it might actually be true. Then Yun-Sha grabs Yun-Che and tells him to follow her. The students are shocked when they see this happen. Yun-Sha then inquires why Yun-Che came back, asking whether Yun-Che is not afraid of being investigated by the peacekeepers, and whether Yun-Che thinks only the peacekeepers will trouble him. She also asks whether Yun-Che is not afraid that Yun-Sha herself might turn him in. Hearing this, Yun-Che replies that he already said this before, and that Yun-Che believes Yun-Sha's nature would not turn bad. Yun-Sha does not seem impressed by this answer. Then Yun-Che states that with the evil deeds of the hero families, their downfall is well-deserved. Yun-Sha reminds Yun-Che that he still owes her another favor. Hearing this, Yun-Che tells Yun-Sha not to worry, saying that he knows exactly what she means. Even though Yun-Sha is Luo Wei's granddaughter, Yun-Che wonders why she helped him enter the hero's secret realm in the first place. He thinks that maybe Yunsha could not stand the Ding family's actions, but to challenge Luo Wei, deceiving and using Yunsha might also become a possible path. Then Yunsha inquires whether Yunsha knows about life nurseries. Yunsha replies yes, saying that they are the items that produce life essence, and that their school principal has one. Then the scene shifts to Yunsha standing outside the principal's office. Yunsha enters the mirror world and goes inside the principal's office through that method. Yunsha had told Yunsha that the principal collected a world tree sapling and treasured it greatly. As far as Yunsha knows, almost all life nurseries were obtained by the principal through every possible means, and were used to water and nourish that treasured sapling. Then Yunsha sees the world tree sapling with his own eyes, and he also sees 5 life nurseries placed nearby. Yunsha is surprised to see that there are so many life nurseries gathered in one place. As Yunsha tries to access the items, the barrier blocks him. Yunsha is surprised because everything has been sealed by the principal's magic formation. Yunsha originally planned to obtain a copy of the life nursery directly through the mirror world, but he did not expect the formation to be triggered even inside the mirror world itself. Although Yunsha is familiar with sealing formations from his past life, this barrier is quite different from the ones he dealt with before because it contains many techniques and elements unique to this era. At Yunsha's current level of strength, he cannot break this formation yet. Even if Yunsha's attack power were enough, forcibly destroying the formation would also destroy the items inside, which would defeat the entire purpose. Because of this, Yunsha decides to leave for now and not act recklessly. As Yunsha leaves the room, he sees the principal, named Bolin, who is level 89. Yunsha immediately realizes that this person's strength is far superior to Lan Qian's. If Yunsha does not change his class, he is afraid that he will not be able to defeat the principal in a direct confrontation. Therefore, there are only 2 ways to obtain the life nurseries inside. The first is to wait for the principal to open the barrier himself and then obtain them through the mirror world. The second is to properly study this era, familiarize himself with the unfamiliar aspects of the barrier, and eventually find a method to break through it safely. Then Yunsha goes to the library and decides to start reading general knowledge books first, because building a solid foundation is more important than anything else at this stage. Yunsha also plans to deal with Ding Kuan first. Yunsha realizes that he was too impatient when he first revived, and since times have changed so much, if Yunsha does not fully understand this world, he is afraid that he will not be able to properly face Luo Wei later on. Earlier, Yunsha dismantled some of the machines that he had copied, but he could not figure them out at all. Yunsha also heard that Luo Wei was the driving force behind this technological development, which makes Yunsha wonder where Luo Wei even got these ideas from. Yunsha then reads about how mana cores are used and wonders whether the principal is also involved in these developments. Other than dungeon items, many of the basic parts are easy to understand, but the way they interact with dungeon materials is filled with unanswered questions. Although some questions are explained, even more new questions appear, and much of the knowledge is vague and requires checking many other books. The most crucial information might not even be recorded in common publications. The more popular a book is, the more likely it is to be censored or simplified. Perhaps only some unpopular, niche books, or even rare copies, contain what Yunsha truly wants. However, among those types of books, there are even more useless ones, and just screening through them will probably take a lot of time and effort. Then Yunsha sees a girl sitting alone and quietly reading a book. Yunsha recognizes her, and it is Een. Yunsha wonders what Een is doing here, because he usually always sees her together with Yunsha. Yunsha thinks that since she is the guard of Luo Wei's granddaughter, could she be investigating something as well? When Een sees Yunsha, she becomes angry upon spotting him. Yunsha tells Een to calm down and explains that he is just here to get a book. Een inquires which book he is looking for. Yunsha replies that he does not know exactly which one either. Een becomes frustrated when she hears this answer. Yunsha further tells Een that he wants a book whose content is about the principles of dungeon products and mechanical structures. Hearing this, Een throws a book at Yunsha and tells him that this is the one he is looking for. After catching the book, Yunsha leaves from there and thanks Een before going. Then Yunsha tells Een that after he finishes reading this book, he would like to know if there are any other books related to mobile communication. Een remains silent at that time. However, the next day, Een gives Yunsha the book that he asked for. Then Yun-Che gives her a snack and tells her that it is good, but Een replies that she does not need it. Yun-Che places the snack on the table anyway, and then leaves from there quietly. Yun-Che thinks to himself that although Een is usually a cold and distant person, he inexplicably feels somewhat close to her. The next day, Yun-Che tells Een that he is hoping to find a book about mana engines. Een replies that such a book is not even on this bookshelf. Meanwhile, Yun-Che thinks that it seems Een finally has the chance to come to the library for some quiet reading while Yun-Sha is resting. Yun-Che also thinks that maybe after getting more familiar with each other, he can get some news about Luo Wei and Luo Sha from Een. As days go by, both of them continue reading together, and Een answers questions whenever Yun-Che has any. Then Yun-Che asks Een if she knows anything about the formation connection system. Een replies that, literally speaking, it refers to a mechanical system used to connect different formations together. So Yun-Che inquires whether Een can help him find some books on this subject. Then Een tells Yun-Che to go ask his friend, the descendant of the traitor. With a smile, Yun-Che replies that he will be back soon. Then the scene shifts to the Ding family's inner residence, where the Ding family receives a photo of Ding Su and wonders what the sender actually wants. They are confused because only one photo was sent, and there has been no follow-up for many days. Then the Ding family inquires whether Yun-Che sent this, since he was hanging out with Qiao Ji from the Qiao family before. They begin to suspect that this might be related to the Qiao family member they captured earlier. They also wonder if it was Yun-Che who defeated their grandfather, the hero, and whether Yun-Che even has the strength to do such a thing. Frustrated, the Ding family questions why the public security officers have not arrested Yun-Che yet. They angrily ask whether their words are not being taken seriously and whether being the hero family no longer means anything. Even if their grandfather has fallen, they feel that it should not change how they are treated. At that moment, a servant comes in and tells the Ding family that Qiao Ji from the Qiao family has returned to school. Then the scene shifts to the school, where Qiao Ji informs all the students gathered there that when the Valiant dungeon dissipated, someone must have seen the battlefield. Even if they did not witness it directly, Qiao Ji says that he has a video with him. Yun-Che sees this and thinks to himself that for so many years, the truth has been covered up, and that the real hero was wronged and trampled by the traitor. However, there are always people who persist in seeking the truth, no matter how long it takes. Then we see Qiao Ji telling everyone that now there is sufficient evidence to prove that Qiao Ji's great-grandfather was not a traitor, but a true hero. Meanwhile, Yun-Che thinks that perhaps this world is about to change because of his persistence, and because more people are finally willing to face the truth. Qiao Ji tells all the students gathered there that everything he has said is the truth, and that he is not afraid of it being verified. He firmly states that his great-grandfather was no traitor. Some students still think that Qiao Ji is lying, because the textbooks all say otherwise. Then Qiao Ji says that he does not expect everyone to believe him right away, but that his great-uncle, his aunt, and the rest of his family are innocent. Qiao Ji then bows deeply and says that he only hopes the Ding family will spare his family. The students begin to think that they always believed the Qiao family was subordinate to the Ding family. And if the rumors about the hero clan are true, then the Qiao family must have had a very difficult time all these years. Meanwhile, Qiao Ji thinks to himself that the Ding family is now caught in a whirlwind of public opinion, and that this is the perfect time to free the Qiao family from their control. Qiao Ji knows that he must amplify the public outcry as much as possible. Meanwhile, Yun-Che thinks to himself that he has Ding Su and a few other uncles, and that the others should be safe for now, but it would still be better to rescue them as soon as possible. At that moment, peacekeeper officers come to meet Yun-Che. 3 officers arrive: Leo, the peacekeeper chief and an S-rank high archer, Mate, an S-rank sword guard, and Ma Su, also an S-rank sword guard. Leo states that they are from the peacekeeper's office, and that they suspect Yun-Che is connected to the incident in the hero's secret realm, so they are here to investigate him and ask for his cooperation. Then Leo reads Yun-Che's information. Yun-Che is from East Town of the Royal City. Yun-Che's parents passed away when he was 11 years old, and Yun-Che has lived alone on his inheritance ever since. His file describes him as having a solitary personality, and his combat scores have consistently been at the bottom of his class. However, Leo remarks that this is Yun-Che's old file, and that Yun-Che has been a little different lately. Yun-Che fought off numerous wandering species in the Valiant Secret Realm and defeated the Wandering Lord. After that, Yun-Che disappeared for a while, at the same time as the Ding family's third son, and Yun-Che just so happened to reappear right after the incident in the hero's secret realm. So Leo inquires how Yun-Che's strength suddenly increased to this level, where Yun-Che was during that time, and what Yun-Che was doing. Yun-Che replies that he did not return to school because the hidden boss in the Valiant secret realm was terrifying, so he left to clear his head. Yun-Che also says that he does possess strength far beyond his peers, and that he simply liked to hide it before. However, Yun-Che asks whether Leo really thinks suspecting him of defeating a hero is going too far. At Yun-Che's age, he has not even had a class change yet. So how could he defeat a hero who was, at the very least, a class-changed user? Besides, Yun-Che asks why he would do any of this at all, since he has no motive. Hearing this, Leo replies that a regular student certainly would not have the motive or the power to do such things. But Leo has heard that there are class-changed users in this world with skills that make them unrecognizable even to themselves, let alone to others. Leo then asks whether Yun-Che is one of them. Yun-Che replies that he is just a student. Then Leo uses his Dispel Disguise spell, but the activation fails. Seeing this, Leo wonders whether Yun-Che's skill level is higher than his own. Leo then explains that at Yun-Che's age, Yun-Che should have just started learning the principles of communication machinery. Yun-Che replies that isn't that something graduates study, and that he has not even mastered connecting the job system to common machinery yet. The three officers are shocked to hear this. Then Leo says that this will be all for today and leaves, telling Yun-Che that he will be back. As they leave, Yun-Che thinks that it is a good thing he has been reading a lot of general knowledge books lately, mostly textbooks, and that he managed to send those officers away for now. However, he knows that they are only the beginning. Yun-Che remembers what Ding Kuan told him, that Ding Kuan was working under Luo Wei to lure out people connected to Yun-Che's master, and that if Ding Kuan were taken down, Luo Wei would definitely send his shadow guards to investigate. Their strength is far beyond Ding Kuan's. Yun-Che thinks to himself that the people Luo Wei sends will not play by the rules like these peacekeepers. If Yun-Che does not get a class change soon, the risk will be too great. But the principal is only at school for 1 hour each day, and Yun-Che has not seen him enter the vault even once, let alone activate the array formation. So trying to obtain the life nursery using only the mirror world probably will not work within this short amount of time. Then the scene shifts to outside, where Leo reports everything that he has found in his investigation to the man sent by Luo Wei. Leo further explains that the main suspects are Yun-Che and Yun-Sha, Her Highness. Hearing this, the man tells Leo to leave Yun-Sha out of the question, but says that Een, who is always by Yun-Sha's side, is someone they need to look into carefully, because Een is the descendant of the traitorous Yun clan. The man also tells Leo that this student named Yun-Che, who shares the same surname, is extremely suspicious as well. He orders Leo to keep a close eye on this student named Yun-Che, and if anything seems out of the ordinary, he will authorize Leo to take action against Yun-Che. Then the scene shifts to Yun-Che, who instantly realizes that someone is watching him. Because of that, Yun-Che decides to maintain his disguise and act normally from now on. Yun-Che goes to the cafeteria and eats his meal there like all the other students, and he genuinely finds the food very delicious. Yun-Che remembers that in his past life, he mostly ate while on the move and slept out in the open, and he never had the chance to eat anything this refined and tasty. Meanwhile, the other students do not like the cafeteria food very much at all. One student comes up to Yun-Che and asks why Yun-Che is eating the cafeteria food so enthusiastically. Yun-Che casually replies that it is simply because he is hungry. Then the scene shifts to Yun-Che at night, where Yun-Che starts questioning what he is even doing at this point. The secret realms are all tightly controlled, so normal people can only reach around level 30 or so, and Yun-Che wonders how he could possibly find any real leads in a place meant only for ordinary people. Then Yun-Che goes back to his room and thinks that he does not truly belong to this world anymore, because all of his friends and his family, not a single one of them, truly survived. Ding Kuan had already informed Yun-Che of this truth before, and the thought still weighs heavily on his mind. Then Yun-Che goes to the library, thinking that at such a late hour, only someone like him, who does not quite fit into this world, would come to the library to look for books. As Yun-Che finally finds the book he has been searching for, Een arrives and asks what book Yun-Che is looking for. Yun-Che is surprised to see Een there at this time. Then Een hands Yinshe a book and tells him that she found a book related to array machinery, which Yinshe had asked her to help look for earlier. She also adds that this book was written by their school principal himself.